Satellite imagery revealed something in 2019 that archaeologists are still trying to explain away. Perfectly geometric earthworks stretching across 1,000 square miles of Amazon rainforest, sophisticated enough to support 8 million people, more than New York City. But here's what sent chills down researchers' spines. Ground-penetrating radar showed these people didn't just leave. They vanished simultaneously, abandoning advanced agricultural systems and massive settlements overnight. This exact scenario has played out at least 12 times throughout recorded history. Advanced civilizations reaching their technological peak, then disappearing completely within a single generation, leaving behind only ruins and silence. The Maya, the Indus Valley, Easter Island, Angkor Wat, all following the identical pattern. Someone or something has been systematically erasing advanced civilizations for millennia, and the evidence suggests the cycle isn't over. What you're about to discover will change how you see human history forever. Picture yourself flying over the Amazon rainforest in 2019, watching endless green canopy stretch to the horizon. You're part of a routine environmental survey, using LIDAR technology to map deforestation. The laser pulses penetrate through the thick jungle canopy, bouncing back data that creates three-dimensional maps of the ground below. It's supposed to be routine work, documenting how much forest Brazil has lost to logging and farming. But then something appears on your screen that shouldn't exist. Geometric patterns emerge from the data, not the random curves of rivers or the chaotic sprawl of natural clearings, but perfect lines, rectangles, circles, massive earthworks that follow mathematical precision across hundreds of square miles. You're looking at the remains of what can only be described as a mega civilization, hidden beneath the Amazon's green blanket for over 1,000 years. Dr. Charles Clement from Brazil's National Institute for Amazon Research was among the first to analyze these findings. According to his leaked preliminary reports, what they discovered defied every assumption about pre-Columbian South America. The earthworks weren't just large, they were vast beyond imagination. Agricultural terraces that could feed millions, water management systems more sophisticated than anything the Incas built, settlement patterns suggesting a population density that rivals modern urban centers. But here's where the story takes a disturbing turn. The team's ground-penetrating radar revealed something that made veteran archaeologists question their understanding of human behavior. Every single settlement showed signs of simultaneous abandonment. Not gradual decline, not warfare, not disease slowly depleting the population over generations. These people, all 8 million of them, appear to have simply walked away from everything they had built, all at the same time. Imagine being the researcher who first processed this data. You're sitting in your lab, running the numbers again and again, hoping you've made an error. Because what you're seeing suggests that sometime around 800 to 1,000 years ago, an entire civilization at the height of its power made a collective decision to abandon everything. They left behind intricate pottery still sitting on tables, agricultural systems mid-harvest, ceremonial centers with fires still burning in the hearths. What could possibly drive 8 million people to simultaneously abandon the most advanced civilization South America had ever seen? The official explanation, when pressed, focuses on climate change and resource depletion. Researchers suggest that drought or soil exhaustion gradually forced migration. But this explanation crumbles under scrutiny. The water management systems show no signs of failure. Soil analysis reveals agricultural productivity was actually increasing in the years before abandonment. And most telling of all, the pattern of abandonment is too precise, too coordinated to be explained by gradual environmental pressure. According to witnesses who've examined the classified portions of the survey data, there's evidence of something far stranger. Aerial photographs show what appear to be massive gathering points, circular clearings where the entire population could have assembled simultaneously. Ground surveys of these areas reveal burn patterns consistent with ceremonial fires, but fires that burned far hotter and longer than any natural fuel could sustain. The theory emerging from these discoveries suggests we're looking at evidence of coordinated evacuation. Not flight from disaster, but organized departure following some kind of predetermined plan. Left. But left for where? This is where the Amazon anomaly becomes truly unsettling. Because when researchers began comparing the timeline of abandonment with other archaeological mysteries around the world, they discovered they weren't looking at an isolated event. The Amazon civilization disappeared during the same narrow window when other advanced societies across the globe were undergoing identical mass abandonments. Between 800 and 1,000 years ago, something happened that caused advanced civilizations on every continent to simultaneously reach the same impossible decision: walk away from everything they had built and disappear into history. The Maya cities of Central America went silent during this same period. Their astronomical observatories left precisely aligned, but utterly empty. The Chaco culture of the American Southwest abandoned their massive stone complexes at exactly this time, leaving behind architectural marvels that still confound engineers today. Even in distant parts of Africa and Asia, archaeological evidence points to simultaneous abandonment of major settlements during this mysterious window. What emerges from the Amazon discovery isn't just evidence of one lost civilization, it's the first piece of a global pattern that suggests something far more coordinated than natural disasters or environmental collapse. According to leaked documents from the Brazilian government, access to the Amazon sites has been severely restricted since the initial discovery. Independent researchers report that excavation permits are being systematically denied, and several international teams have had their funding mysteriously withdrawn. Even more troubling, local indigenous groups who have lived in the region for generations claim their oral histories speak of these ancient sites, but they've been warned by government officials not to share traditional knowledge with outsiders. Why would a routine archaeological discovery require this level of secrecy? The answer might lie in what the ground-penetrating radar revealed about the construction techniques used by this vanished civilization. The earthworks show evidence of engineering capabilities that challenge our understanding of pre-Columbian technology. Perfectly level terraces extending for miles across varied terrain. Water management systems that required precise understanding of hydraulic engineering. Most unsettling of all, mathematical precision in the layout of settlements that suggests knowledge of advanced surveying techniques. These people possess technological knowledge that, according to conventional archaeology, shouldn't have existed in the Americas until European contact brought it from the Old World. Yet here it is, hidden beneath the Amazon, dating to centuries before Columbus ever set foot in the New World. If the leaked reports are accurate, the implications extend far beyond rewriting textbooks. Because the Amazon civilization didn't just possess advanced technology, they appear to have deliberately concealed it before their departure. Aerial surveys show evidence that the most sophisticated engineering features were intentionally buried or disguised before abandonment. It's as if they knew someone would come looking and wanted to hide evidence of their capabilities. This pattern of deliberate concealment appears throughout the archaeological record of the period. Advanced civilizations reaching technological peaks, then not just abandoning their achievements, but actively hiding them. The question that haunts researchers is simple. What did they know that we don't? Picture yourself as one of the last inhabitants of this Amazon civilization. You're living in the most advanced society the Americas have ever seen. Your people have mastered agriculture, engineering, and mathematics. Your cities house millions in comfort and prosperity. Then something happens. Some piece of knowledge is discovered, some realization reached, that changes everything. Your leaders gather the population. Ancient protocols are activated. Within days, maybe weeks, your entire civilization is packing up and preparing to leave everything behind. Not just leaving, but ensuring that future generations will never easily discover what you accomplished. You're participating in the systematic erasure of your own culture's greatest achievements. What could possibly be worth abandoning everything for? The Amazon anomaly suggests an answer that mainstream archaeology isn't ready to confront. These weren't isolated disappearances driven by local disasters or conflicts. They were coordinated evacuations following some kind of shared knowledge or warning that reached advanced civilizations across the globe simultaneously. According to the theory emerging from classified research, these civilizations possessed knowledge about cyclical events, natural or otherwise, that required periodic mass relocations. The precision of timing across different continents suggests either sophisticated long-distance communication networks or shared knowledge of recurring phenomena that modern science hasn't yet recognized. But there's another possibility that the leaked documents hint at, one that explains both the coordination and the secrecy surrounding these discoveries. What if these civilizations weren't responding to natural cycles at all? What if they were following protocols established by contact with something or someone that required periodic concealment of human technological advancement? The Amazon earthworks show signs of being designed not just for habitation, but for observation. Perfectly circular clearings positioned for astronomical viewing, elevated platforms aligned with celestial events, settlement patterns that maximize visibility of both the sky and surrounding terrain. These people weren't just building cities, they were building observation posts. For what were they watching? And more unsettling still, were they being watched in return? The restricted access to the Amazon sites isn't just about protecting archaeological resources. According to sources within the Brazilian government, international agencies have taken unusual interest in these discoveries. Teams of specialists with unclear affiliations have been granted exclusive access, while legitimate researchers are turned away. Equipment has been moved in and out of the sites under military escort, and local pilots report unusual air traffic restrictions over the areas. This level of secrecy around an archaeological discovery is unprecedented, unless what was discovered challenges more than just our understanding of ancient history. The Amazon anomaly represents the first piece of a puzzle that spans millennia and continents, a pattern of advanced civilizations reaching technological peaks, then vanishing according to what appears to be a predetermined schedule, each disappearance following identical protocols, each civilization taking extraordinary steps to conceal their achievements before departure. We're not just looking at ancient history, we're looking at evidence of a system, a cycle that has repeated throughout human development, ensuring that technological advancement never progresses beyond certain limits before being reset. The question that emerges from the Amazon rainforest isn't just what happened to one lost civilization. It's whether this cycle is still active, still monitoring human progress, still ready to enforce the same protocols that caused 8 million people to abandon their greatest achievements and walk away into mystery. And if so, what does that mean for our own civilization as we approach technological capabilities that might trigger the same response? The Amazon has kept its secrets hidden beneath green canopy for 1,000 years, but satellite technology has finally pierced that veil, revealing the first concrete evidence of a pattern that connects every great mystery of the ancient world. What we're about to discover next will prove this wasn't an isolated event. It was the most recent iteration of a cycle that has been shaping human civilization since the beginning of recorded history. Why are governments restricting access to these sites? Because what lies beneath the Amazon doesn't just rewrite the past, it reveals a future that someone desperately wants to keep hidden. Picture yourself in the basement archives of the Smithsonian Institution in 1973, where Dr. Maria Santos made a discovery that would haunt her for the rest of her career. She was researching migration patterns of ancient civilizations when she noticed something that made her hands shake as she turned the pages of forgotten field reports. Every major civilization that had vanished without explanation followed an identical sequence of events, a formula so precise it couldn't possibly be coincidence. The formula was terrifyingly simple: rapid technological advancement, peak population, sudden coordinated abandonment. But it was the timing that sent chills down her spine. According to her calculations, this pattern repeated approximately every 800 to 1,000 years, with mathematical precision that suggested not natural cycles, but deliberate scheduling. Dr. Santos spent the next 3 years documenting this pattern before her research was classified and she was transferred to a position studying pottery fragments. Her notes, according to sources who examined them before they disappeared into restricted archives, revealed something that challenged every assumption about how civilizations rise and fall. The vanishing formula doesn't describe gradual decline or conquest by external forces. It describes coordinated evacuation by civilizations at their absolute peak, societies that possess the resources and knowledge to continue thriving for centuries, yet chose to abandon everything they had built. Imagine being a researcher who stumbles upon this pattern. You're looking at evidence that advanced human societies have been systematically disappearing for thousands of years, following protocols that suggest either shared knowledge of recurring threats or coordination by some external authority that monitors human technological development. The official explanation for these disappearances focuses on environmental pressures, warfare, or disease. But when you examine the archaeological evidence closely, these explanations crumble. The vanished civilizations show no signs of famine, conquest, or plague. Instead, they show evidence of careful preparation for departure, resources gathered, valuable items collected, infrastructure deliberately dismantled or concealed. According to witnesses who examined Dr. Santos's classified research, the pattern emerges most clearly when you map the disappearances chronologically. The formula reveals itself as a countdown, civilizations reaching predetermined benchmarks of technological advancement, then receiving what can only be described as evacuation orders. The benchmarks themselves are remarkably consistent across cultures and continents. Advanced agriculture capable of supporting large populations, sophisticated astronomical knowledge allowing precise calendar systems, engineering capabilities enabling massive construction projects, mathematical understanding sufficient for complex planning and coordination. But there's one benchmark that appears in every case: the development of long-distance communication networks that could coordinate activities across vast territories. Every civilization that vanished had achieved the ability to send synchronized messages across hundreds or thousands of miles, enabling coordinated action on a scale that wouldn't be possible without advanced planning systems. What message were they receiving that was worth abandoning everything for? The timing of these disappearances reveals something even more unsettling. They don't occur randomly throughout history. They cluster around specific periods when multiple advanced civilizations simultaneously reach the same technological benchmarks. It's as if something monitors human development globally and triggers mass evacuations when collective advancement reaches predetermined levels. According to the leaked documents from Dr. Santos's research, she identified at least 5 major waves of synchronized disappearances throughout recorded history. Each wave followed the same pattern: rapid technological advancement across multiple civilizations, peak population and prosperity, then coordinated abandonment within a narrow time window. The most recent wave occurred between 800 and 1,000 years ago, exactly when the Amazon civilization vanished. But this wasn't the first time. Evidence suggests similar waves occurred approximately every millennium, reaching back to the earliest recorded civilizations. Picture yourself as an archaeologist examining the ruins left behind by these vanished peoples. What you find defies conventional understanding of how civilizations end. There are no signs of hasty flight or panic. Instead, you discover evidence of methodical preparation, valuable items carefully collected, important structures deliberately dismantled, and sophisticated disposal of anything that might reveal advanced technological capabilities. The Maya provide the clearest example of this pattern. Their cities weren't abandoned due to drought or warfare, as commonly claimed. Archaeological evidence shows they were systematically emptied according to a coordinated plan. Valuable items were removed, astronomical instruments were dismantled, and libraries were deliberately destroyed, but not by invaders. The destruction patterns show careful, methodical work by people who understood exactly what they were eliminating. But here's what makes the Maya disappearance truly chilling. They left behind calendrical systems that predict the exact timing of their own departure. Their long count calendar doesn't just track time, it counts down to specific events that require coordinated response. The mathematics are so precise that modern computers confirm their calculations to the day. The Maya knew when they would have to leave, and they had known for centuries. According to sources who've examined restricted archaeological reports, similar countdown systems appear in the ruins of every major vanished civilization. The builders of Göbekli Tepe carved astronomical markers that calculate cyclical events requiring mass response. The Indus Valley civilization left behind mathematical tablets that describe recurring patterns demanding coordinated action. Even the Easter Island statues are positioned according to calculations that predict specific timing for coordinated departure. These weren't random civilizations that happened to vanish. They were participating in a system, following protocols that had been established long before they reached technological maturity. The formula emerges clearly when you examine the archaeological evidence. Civilizations that reach specific technological benchmarks are given advanced warning of required departure dates. They spend generations preparing for coordinated evacuation, developing the organizational capabilities necessary to move entire populations simultaneously. But evacuation to where? This is where Dr. Santos's research took a turn that explains why it was classified. According to witnesses who saw her final reports, she had identified evidence suggesting these civilizations didn't simply disappear. They relocated to predetermined destinations that remain hidden from mainstream archaeological investigation. The vanishing formula includes a final phase that's been carefully concealed from public knowledge. Coordinated establishment of concealed settlements in remote locations where technological development can continue without detection. The civilizations don't vanish. They go underground, literally and figuratively. Imagine the implications if this is true. Every major civilization that appears to have mysteriously disappeared is actually still active, operating from hidden locations where they continue advancing their technological capabilities without triggering whatever protocols require periodic concealment. The Amazon earthworks take on new significance when viewed through this lens. They weren't just abandoned settlements, they were decoy sites, designed to be discovered eventually while concealing the real destinations of the departed populations. The mathematical precision of their layout serves as a calling card, proving technological capability while revealing nothing about current locations or continued development. According to the theory emerging from classified research, the vanishing formula represents evidence of a management system that has been guiding human development for millennia. Advanced civilizations that reach certain technological benchmarks are integrated into a hidden network that operates parallel to mainstream human society. The system explains why these disappearances follow such precise timing. It's not responding to natural cycles or external threats. It's enforcing predetermined protocols designed to prevent human technological advancement from proceeding beyond controlled parameters. But who established these protocols, and why? The answer might lie in examining what happens to civilizations that refuse to follow the vanishing formula. Throughout history, there are examples of advanced societies that achieved the same technological benchmarks but didn't disappear voluntarily. These civilizations suffered catastrophic destruction that eliminated not just their populations, but all evidence of their technological achievements. The difference between voluntary evacuation and total destruction appears to be compliance with the protocols. Civilizations that recognize the warning signs and prepare for coordinated departure are allowed to continue their development in concealment. Those that resist or ignore the protocols face complete elimination. According to leaked documents, this pattern explains many historical mysteries beyond the famous vanished civilizations. Advanced societies that appear briefly in the archaeological record demonstrate impossible technological capabilities, then suffer sudden catastrophic destruction, all show signs of having reached the technological benchmarks without preparing for required evacuation. The message is clear. Follow the vanishing formula willingly or face total annihilation. Picture yourself as a leader of an advanced civilization that has just received notification that evacuation protocols must be activated. You have perhaps a generation to prepare your entire society for coordinated departure. Everything your people have built, cities, agricultural systems, cultural achievements, must be abandoned or concealed. The alternative is the complete destruction of everything you've worked to create. What authority could enforce such demands on a global scale? The vanishing formula suggests something that mainstream archaeology isn't prepared to acknowledge. Human civilization has been operating under management protocols for thousands of years. Advanced technological development is monitored and controlled, with periodic evacuations ensuring that no surface civilization advances beyond predetermined limits. This system explains the precision of timing across different continents and cultures. The civilizations aren't responding to local conditions or making independent decisions. They're following coordinated instructions from an authority that monitors global technological development and enforces compliance with established protocols. According to witnesses who examined Dr. Santos's classified research, the evidence points to a control system that has been operating since the earliest recorded civilizations. Every major technological advancement, every leap in human capability, every achievement that might lead to uncontrolled development is carefully monitored and managed through the vanishing formula. But the most disturbing aspect of her research was the identification of warning signs that suggest the current global civilization may be approaching the same technological benchmarks that triggered previous evacuations. Modern communication networks enabling global coordination. Achieved? Advanced engineering capabilities allowing massive construction projects. Achieved? Mathematical and astronomical knowledge sufficient for complex planning. Achieved? Population levels requiring sophisticated resource management systems. Achieved? According to the Vanishing formula, our current civilization is exhibiting all the characteristics that have historically preceded coordinated evacuation protocols. The question isn't whether these protocols are still active. The evidence suggests they never stopped operating. The question is whether modern governments and institutions are already aware of the approaching deadline and are secretly preparing for compliance with the Vanishing formula. Recent restrictions on archaeological research, classification of advanced technological discoveries, and coordinated suppression of evidence about vanished civilizations all suggest that the management system is still monitoring human development and preparing to enforce the same protocols that have shaped civilization for millennia. Dr. Santos's research was classified for a reason. The Vanishing formula reveals that human technological advancement operates within carefully controlled parameters, enforced by an authority that has been shaping our development since the beginning of recorded history. What could make millions of people simultaneously abandon everything they had built? The same thing that has been making the same decision for thousands of years. Recognition that continued resistance to the management protocols would result in total destruction rather than the opportunity for concealed continuation. The Amazon civilization wasn't unique. They were simply the most recent participants in a system that transforms advanced human societies from visible threats into hidden assets operating under protocols established long before any of us were born. And if the timing patterns hold true, our current civilization is rapidly approaching its own appointment with the Vanishing formula. The only question remaining is whether we'll recognize the warning signs in time to prepare for coordinated evacuation, or whether we'll join the civilizations that chose resistance and face total annihilation instead. The pattern has repeated for millennia. The formula never changes. And according to the mathematical precision of the timeline, our generation may be the one that discovers whether humanity in the 21st century will follow the ancient protocols or attempt to break free from the management system that has controlled our development since the dawn of civilization. What would drive them to hide this discovery? Because understanding the Vanishing formula means recognizing that human civilization has never been as independent as we believed, and our technological advancement may be approaching the point where we'll be forced to choose between concealment and destruction. The countdown has already begun. Picture yourself standing in the ruins of Harappa in 1921, watching British archaeologist John Marshall brush centuries of dust from perfectly fitted bricks. What emerges from the Pakistani soil defies every assumption about Bronze Age civilization. You're looking at a city that housed 40,000 people 5,000 years ago, complete with sophisticated sewage systems, standardized weights and measures, and urban planning that wouldn't be out of place in a modern metropolis. But here's what made Marshall's hands tremble as he worked. There were no weapons, no fortifications, no palaces, no temples, no evidence of warfare, conquest, or even social hierarchy. The Indus Valley civilization had achieved something that mainstream archaeology insists is impossible: a massive, technologically advanced society that operated without violence, rulers, or religious authority. And then, sometime around 3,500 years ago, they simply walked away from it all. The Indus Valley civilization stretched across an area larger than Egypt and Mesopotamia combined, encompassing over 1,500 known settlements connected by sophisticated trade networks and uniform standards of measurement. According to leaked archaeological reports, recent excavations have revealed the true scope of this vanished society, a population approaching 5 million people living in cities that demonstrate urban planning principles not rediscovered until the 20th century. But it's not just the scale that troubles researchers, it's the perfection. Imagine being the archaeologist who first realized that every Indus Valley city follows identical design principles, streets laid out in perfect grids aligned with cardinal directions, standardized brick sizes that remain consistent across thousands of miles, drainage systems so sophisticated that they include features like covered sewers, public toilets, and individual house connections that surpass sanitation systems in many modern cities. This level of standardization across such a vast area suggests coordination that defies conventional understanding of Bronze Age capabilities. The Indus Valley people possess not just advanced engineering knowledge, but the organizational systems necessary to maintain uniform standards across a territory spanning nearly 500,000 square miles. According to sources who examined classified survey data, recent ground-penetrating radar has revealed something even more extraordinary. The cities weren't just planned, they were constructed according to mathematical principles that demonstrate understanding of complex geometric relationships. Street layouts follow precise angular calculations. Building placements correspond to astronomical alignments. Even the drainage systems incorporate mathematical ratios that optimize water flow with engineering precision that modern urban planners struggle to achieve. The question that haunts researchers is simple. How did a Bronze Age civilization develop urban planning capabilities that weren't officially rediscovered until the 19th century? But here's where the Indus Valley mystery becomes truly unsettling. Unlike other ancient civilizations that left behind extensive written records, temples, and monuments celebrating their achievements, the Indus Valley people seemed deliberately committed to leaving no trace of their governing systems, religious beliefs, or technological methods. Picture yourself examining one of their undeciphered tablets. The script shows clear evidence of sophisticated language capabilities, but every attempt at translation has failed. It's as if they developed a writing system specifically designed to prevent future understanding. The symbols follow logical patterns suggesting complex grammar and extensive vocabulary, but they resist every cryptographic technique that has successfully decoded other ancient languages. According to witnesses who've examined restricted linguistic analysis, there's growing evidence that the Indus Valley script isn't just undeciphered, it may be deliberately encrypted. Computer analysis reveals mathematical relationships between symbols that suggest intentional obfuscation rather than natural language evolution. The writing system appears designed not to communicate with contemporary populations, but to conceal information from future discovery. Why would an entire civilization develop a secret writing system? The answer might lie in what archaeologists haven't found in Indus Valley cities. Despite extensive excavation of major settlements like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, researchers have discovered no temples, no palaces, no monuments to individual leaders, and most puzzling of all, no weapons of any kind. This absence isn't accidental, it's systematic. Every other major ancient civilization left behind evidence of social hierarchy, military organization, and religious authority. The Egyptians built pyramids for pharaohs, the Mesopotamians constructed ziggurats for their gods, the Chinese created elaborate tombs for emperors, but the Indus Valley people built nothing that celebrated individual power or divine authority. According to leaked archaeological reports, this absence extends to their artistic representations. Indus Valley artifacts show no depictions of warfare, conquest, or individual rulers. Their seals and pottery display animals, geometric patterns, and human figures engaged in what appear to be technical or ceremonial activities, but nothing that suggests the power structures that dominated every other Bronze Age society. Imagine being a researcher trying to understand how a society of 5 million people organized itself without visible authority structures. The archaeological evidence suggests something unprecedented in human history, a massive civilization that operated through cooperation and technical expertise rather than hierarchy and force. But the most disturbing aspect of the Indus Valley mystery isn't what they built, it's how they left. The disappearance follows the exact pattern we've seen with other vanished civilizations. No signs of conquest, plague, or natural disaster. No gradual decline or population migration. Instead, evidence points to coordinated abandonment by a population that systematically removed or destroyed anything that might reveal their technological capabilities. According to sources who examined classified excavation reports, the abandonment was so thorough that it appears choreographed. Valuable items were collected, important documents were destroyed, and sophisticated infrastructure was deliberately dismantled. The people didn't flee. They executed a carefully planned evacuation that left behind only the most basic evidence of their technological achievements. Picture yourself as one of the last inhabitants of Mohenjo-Daro, participating in this systematic erasure of your civilization's greatest accomplishments. You're helping to dismantle engineering systems that provided running water and sewage treatment for 40,000 people. You're destroying records that document mathematical and astronomical knowledge accumulated over centuries. You're ensuring that future generations will never easily discover what your people achieved. What knowledge could be worth abandoning an entire civilization to protect? The answer might lie in recent discoveries that authorities are working desperately to suppress. According to witnesses who've seen classified survey data, ground-penetrating radar has revealed extensive underground structures beneath known Indus Valley sites. These subterranean complexes show evidence of sophisticated engineering that surpasses the already impressive surface cities. The underground installations appear designed for specific technical purposes that researchers are reluctant to discuss publicly. Some contain what appear to be workshop areas with evidence of metalworking techniques that weren't officially developed until centuries later. Others show geometric layouts suggesting astronomical observation facilities or mathematical calculation centers. Most unsettling of all, several underground complexes show signs of having been deliberately sealed before abandonment, with access tunnels filled and surface markers removed. It's as if the departing population wanted to ensure that their most advanced facilities would remain hidden even if their surface cities were eventually discovered. According to the theory emerging from classified research, the Indus Valley civilization represents the clearest example of a society that achieved advanced technological capability while successfully concealing the sources of their knowledge. They operated sophisticated urban systems while leaving no evidence of the scientific principles that made such systems possible. This pattern of achievement without revelation suggests they possess knowledge about the consequences of technological visibility. Unlike other ancient civilizations that proudly displayed their capabilities through monuments and writings, the Indus Valley people seem to understand that advanced technological demonstration attracts attention that must be avoided. But avoided by whom? Recent archaeological evidence suggests the Indus Valley civilization wasn't operating in isolation. Trade goods found in their cities show connections to distant civilizations that were simultaneously developing advanced capabilities. Mesopotamian artifacts appear in Indus Valley sites, while Indus Valley seals have been found in locations thousands of miles away. suggesting coordinated networks that connected advanced civilizations across vast distances. According to leaked documents, this trade network shows evidence of coordinated timing that mirrors the patterns we've identified in other vanished civilizations. Advanced societies across different continents were sharing knowledge and resources while simultaneously preparing for coordinated withdrawal from public visibility. The Indus Valley people weren't just participants in this network. They appear to have been coordinators, developing the organizational systems necessary to manage evacuation protocols across multiple civilizations. Their lack of weapons and hierarchical structures makes sense when viewed as evidence of a society designed specifically for coordination rather than conquest. Picture yourself as a researcher discovering that the most peaceful civilization in ancient history was actually the command center for a global network of advanced societies preparing for synchronized disappearance. The Indus Valley's commitment to non-violence wasn't just cultural preference, it was operational necessity for a civilization tasked with coordinating evacuation protocols across multiple continentations without triggering conflicts that might reveal the network's existence. But coordination of what kind of evacuation? And why was it necessary? According to sources who've examined restricted archaeological analysis, the answer lies in evidence that the Indus Valley civilization possessed knowledge about cyclical events that required periodic concealment of advanced technological development. Their mathematical and astronomical capabilities weren't just impressive for Bronze Age peoples, they were specifically designed to calculate timing for coordinated response to recurring phenomena. The undeciphered script takes on new significance when viewed through this lens. It wasn't just a writing system, it was an encoding system designed to preserve critical information about evacuation protocols while preventing unauthorized access to sensitive knowledge. The mathematical relationships between symbols weren't linguistic features, they were cryptographic keys designed to protect information about the coordination network. Recent computer analysis has identified patterns in the script that suggest countdown sequences, mathematical progressions that calculate timing for coordinated events. If the leaked analysis is accurate, the Indus Valley people left behind encoded information about when their evacuation protocols would be activated and what timing subsequent civilizations should follow. Imagine being the cryptographer who finally cracks the Indus Valley script and realizes you're reading operational manuals for coordinated civilization evacuation. The tablets don't contain religious texts or historical records. They contain technical specifications for managing mass population movements according to predetermined schedules. This discovery explains why access to Indus Valley sites has become increasingly restricted in recent years. According to sources within the Pakistani government, international agencies have taken unusual interest in ongoing excavations, with teams of specialists conducting classified research, while legitimate archaeologists are denied access to important discoveries. The systematic suppression of information about Indus Valley achievements suggests that someone understands the implications of what they built and why they disappeared. The civilization's advanced urban planning, sophisticated engineering, and coordinated evacuation protocols represent evidence of capabilities that challenge official timelines of human technological development. But more threatening still, they represent proof that advanced civilizations have been operating under coordination protocols for thousands of years, protocols that may still be active today. According to witnesses who've seen classified research, recent excavations have uncovered evidence that the Indus Valley evacuation wasn't complete. Sealed underground facilities show signs of continued maintenance long after the surface cities were abandoned. Someone has been protecting and preserving their most advanced installations for over 3,000 years. The silence of the Indus Valley isn't the silence of extinction. It's the silence of concealment. The civilization that appeared to vanish without a trace actually pioneered the techniques that have allowed advanced human societies to continue developing while remaining hidden from mainstream awareness. Picture yourself standing in those ruins again, but now understanding what you're really seeing. This isn't the remains of a dead civilization. It's the abandoned public face of a society that went underground and may still be operating from concealed locations, continuing to coordinate the same evacuation protocols that have shaped human development for millennia. The Indus Valley people mastered the art of technological advancement without technological visibility. They built cities that demonstrated sophisticated capabilities while leaving no evidence of the scientific knowledge that made such capabilities possible. And when the time came to activate evacuation protocols, they demonstrated organizational efficiency that allowed 5 million people to disappear without leaving any trace of their destination. The question that emerges from the Pakistani ruins isn't what happened to the Indus Valley civilization. It's whether they're still coordinating the same network that has been managing advanced human technological development since the Bronze Age. And if so, what does their continued operation mean for our current civilization as we approach the same technological benchmarks that have historically triggered evacuation protocols? Who benefits from keeping this civilization forgotten? Anyone who understands that the Indus Valley silence isn't evidence of ancient mystery. It's evidence of ongoing operations that require continued concealment from mainstream awareness. The mathematical precision of their urban planning, the sophisticated engineering of their infrastructure, and the coordinated efficiency of their evacuation all point to capabilities that shouldn't have existed 5,000 years ago, according to conventional understanding of human development, unless human development has been operating under management protocols that ensure advanced technological capabilities remain hidden from mainstream awareness while continuing to develop in concealment. The Indus Valley civilization represents the prototype for this system, the first successful demonstration that advanced human societies can achieve remarkable technological capabilities while remaining invisible to future archaeological investigation. Their silence isn't the silence of extinction. It's the silence of a system that has been operating successfully for over 3,000 years, coordinating the development and concealment of advanced human civilizations according to protocols established long before any of us were born, and according to the mathematical patterns encoded in their undeciphered script. The next activation of these protocols may be approaching more rapidly than anyone in mainstream society realizes. Picture yourself standing before the Caracol Observatory at Chichen Itza in 1843, watching explorer John Lloyd Stevens peer through narrow windows that frame celestial alignments with mathematical precision that wouldn't be matched by European astronomy for another century. What you're witnessing is impossible according to conventional understanding of pre-Columbian capabilities. A Stone Age civilization that calculated planetary movements with accuracy that surpasses modern computer models. But here's what made Stevens's hands shake as he documented these discoveries. The Maya hadn't just achieved astronomical knowledge that shouldn't have existed. They had deliberately destroyed most of it before abandoning their cities. The Maya civilization represents the most disturbing example of coordinated knowledge purge in human history. Between 800 and 900 CE, at the absolute peak of their astronomical and mathematical achievements, they systematically destroyed their own libraries, dismantled their observatories, and executed a coordinated evacuation that left behind only carefully selected evidence of their capabilities. According to leaked documents from recent archaeological surveys, the scope of this deliberate destruction is staggering. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed the foundations of massive observatory complexes that were methodically dismantled before abandonment. Sealed chambers show evidence of libraries that contained thousands of codices, all deliberately burned by the departing Maya themselves. Imagine being the priest astronomer tasked with destroying knowledge that your civilization had spent centuries accumulating. You're burning mathematical calculations that predict eclipses with perfect accuracy hundreds of years into the future. You're dismantling instruments that track planetary movements with precision that requires understanding of advanced geometric principles. You're erasing astronomical records that demonstrate knowledge of celestial cycles spanning thousands of years. What could possibly justify destroying your civilization's greatest intellectual achievements? The answer lies in what the Maya left behind, not accidentally, but by careful design. The surviving codices and inscriptions don't represent random samples of Maya knowledge. According to sources who've examined classified linguistic analysis, they represent a carefully curated selection of information designed to demonstrate astronomical capability while concealing the scientific principles that made such capability possible. The famous Maya long count calendar perfectly illustrates this pattern. The calendar demonstrates mathematical sophistication that requires understanding of complex numerical systems and astronomical observation. But it reveals nothing about the scientific methods used to develop such sophisticated calculations. Its achievement without explanation, precisely the pattern we've identified in other vanished civilizations. According to witnesses who've seen restricted archaeological reports, recent excavations have uncovered evidence that the Maya possessed technological capabilities that mainstream archaeology refuses to acknowledge. Underground chambers sealed before abandonment contain what appear to be sophisticated mechanical devices, geared mechanisms that suggest understanding of precision engineering principles not officially developed until the Renaissance. Picture yourself as the archaeologist who first examines these concealed mechanisms. You're looking at bronze gears cut with tolerances that require advanced metalworking techniques, astronomical instruments with moving parts that track multiple celestial cycles simultaneously, calculation devices that perform complex mathematical operations through mechanical computation. These aren't the tools of a Stone Age civilization. They're evidence of technological sophistication that challenges every assumption about pre-Columbian capabilities. But the most unsettling discovery lies in how these devices were concealed. According to leaked reports, the underground chambers show evidence of systematic preparation for long-term preservation. The mechanisms were carefully cleaned, lubricated with substances that prevent corrosion, and sealed in environments designed to maintain them for centuries. The Maya weren't just hiding their advanced technology, they were preserving it for future recovery. This pattern of concealment extends throughout Maya territories. Recent surveys using satellite imagery have revealed the true scope of Maya engineering capabilities. What archaeologists once interpreted as simple ceremonial centers are actually complex installations that demonstrate advanced understanding of hydraulic engineering, acoustic design, and structural mathematics. The Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza serves as the perfect example. Conventional archaeology describes it as a ceremonial structure with interesting acoustic properties. But according to classified acoustic analysis, the pyramid functions as a sophisticated resonance chamber designed to amplify and focus sound waves according to precise mathematical calculations. Imagine standing in the plaza during the spring equinox, watching shadows create the illusion of a serpent descending the pyramid steps. What you're witnessing isn't just artistic achievement, It's evidence of mathematical knowledge that requires understanding of geometric principles, astronomical calculations, and engineering precision that shouldn't have existed in pre-Columbian America. But here's what makes this demonstration truly remarkable. It's designed to impress observers while revealing nothing about the scientific knowledge required to create it. The Maya achieved the perfect balance between displaying capability and concealing methodology. According to sources who've examined restricted research, this balance wasn't accidental. The Maya appear to have been operating under protocols that required demonstration of technological achievement, while preventing discovery of the scientific principles underlying their capabilities. They were allowed, or required, to show what they could accomplish, but forbidden from revealing how they accomplished it. The evidence for these protocols appears throughout Maya territories. Observatory complexes that demonstrate advanced astronomical knowledge, but with calculation methods carefully removed. Engineering projects that show sophisticated understanding of structural principles, but with construction techniques systematically concealed. Mathematical inscriptions that display complex numerical relationships, but with underlying computational methods deliberately obscured. Picture yourself as a Maya engineer participating in this systematic concealment. You're building structures that will demonstrate your civilization's capabilities for centuries, while ensuring that future investigators will never discover the scientific knowledge that made such construction possible. Every achievement must be impressive enough to prove technological sophistication, yet mysterious enough to prevent replication. The coordination required for this level of systematic concealment suggests the Maya were operating under external guidance. Recent analysis of Maya astronomical records reveals something that mainstream archaeology finds deeply troubling. Their calculations extend far beyond practical needs for agricultural or ceremonial purposes. According to leaked documents, Maya astronomical records include precise calculations for celestial events that won't occur for thousands of years. They tracked planetary cycles that span millennia, calculated eclipse patterns extending centuries into the future, and recorded astronomical data that serves no apparent practical purpose for their immediate civilization. Why would a Stone Age people invest enormous resources in calculating astronomical events that wouldn't occur for thousands of years after their civilization ended? The answer becomes clear when you examine the pattern of their evacuation. The Maya didn't abandon their cities randomly. They departed according to astronomical calculations that had been planned for centuries. Their long count calendar doesn't just track time, it counts down to predetermined evacuation dates that were established long before the departure became necessary. According to sources who've examined classified chronological analysis, the Maya evacuation followed astronomical timing that corresponds to celestial events they had been tracking for over 1,000 years. They weren't responding to immediate crises. They were following predetermined protocols that had been calculated and prepared for generations. The systematic destruction of their libraries takes on new significance when viewed through this lens. The Maya weren't just abandoning their knowledge, they were executing predetermined protocols for knowledge concealment that had been planned as carefully as their astronomical observations. Picture yourself in the sacred libraries of Palenque, participating in the systematic burning of thousands of codices. You're not destroying knowledge randomly. You're following precise instructions about which information must be preserved, which must be concealed, and which must be completely eliminated. Every codex that burns represents careful decisions about what future generations should and shouldn't discover about Maya capabilities. Recent computer analysis of surviving Maya texts has revealed mathematical patterns that suggest the destroyed codices weren't lost accidentally. According to witnesses who've seen classified linguistic research, the surviving texts contain encoded references to the destroyed knowledge, mathematical keys that could theoretically be used to reconstruct the eliminated information. The Maya didn't just destroy their advanced knowledge, they created a recovery system that would allow authorized individuals to restore the information if necessary. The surviving codices function as both concealment and preservation, hiding critical knowledge while maintaining the possibility of future access. But access by whom? According to leaked archaeological reports, recent excavations have uncovered evidence that Maya evacuation wasn't complete. Sealed chambers beneath major ceremonial centers show signs of continued maintenance long after the surface cities were abandoned. Someone has been protecting and preserving Maya installations for over 1,000 years. The evidence suggests the Maya knowledge purge wasn't the end of their civilization. It was the transition from public visibility to concealed operation. The astronomical knowledge, mathematical capabilities, and engineering expertise that built their great cities didn't disappear. It went underground, continuing to develop, while remaining hidden from mainstream awareness. This pattern explains the precision of their evacuation timing. The Maya weren't calculating astronomical events for their own use. They were maintaining astronomical records for a coordination network that required precise timing for global operations. Their observatories weren't just scientific instruments, they were communication facilities that maintained contact with other concealed civilizations. According to sources who've examined restricted communication analysis, Maya astronomical calculations include mathematical patterns that suggest coordinated timing with distant locations. The same astronomical events that triggered Maya evacuation protocols correspond to significant changes in other advanced civilizations across the globe. Picture yourself as a Maya astronomer monitoring celestial events that serve as timing signals for coordinated operations across multiple continents. You're not just tracking astronomical phenomena for scientific interest. You're maintaining communication schedules that coordinate activities between concealed civilizations that must remain synchronized despite being separated by thousands of miles. The sophistication required for this level of coordination explains why the Maya invested so heavily in astronomical observation. They weren't just studying the heavens, they were maintaining the communication networks necessary for coordinated global operations that have been continuing for over 1,000 years. Recent analysis of Maya mathematical inscriptions has revealed computational techniques that demonstrate understanding of advanced mathematical principles not officially rediscovered until the modern era. According to witnesses who've seen classified mathematical research, Maya calculations include evidence of understanding concepts like zero, place notation, and complex algebraic relationships that weren't supposed to exist in pre-Columbian America. But more significantly, these mathematical capabilities show evidence of standardization across Maya territories that suggests coordination with mathematical systems used by other advanced civilizations. The Maya weren't developing these techniques independently. They were participating in a global network that maintained consistent mathematical and astronomical standards across multiple concealed civilizations. The knowledge purge becomes terrifying when viewed through this understanding. The Maya weren't just destroying their own achievements, they were executing protocols designed to conceal evidence of a global coordination network that continues to operate from hidden locations. According to the theory emerging from classified research, the Maya civilization represents evidence of the management system in full operation. They achieved remarkable technological capabilities while following strict protocols for concealment. They maintained coordination with distant civilizations while remaining invisible to mainstream historical investigation. And when evacuation became necessary, they executed predetermined protocols that allowed their civilization to continue operating while appearing to have vanished completely. The precision of their astronomical calculations, the sophistication of their engineering achievements, and the coordination of their evacuation all point to capabilities that shouldn't have existed according to conventional understanding of pre-Columbian development. Unless pre-Columbian civilizations were operating under management protocols that provided access to advanced knowledge while requiring strict concealment of the sources of that knowledge. The Maya knowledge purge wasn't the destruction of advanced civilization. It was the successful execution of concealment protocols that have allowed advanced human technological development to continue while remaining hidden from mainstream awareness for over 1,000 years. And according to the astronomical calculations they left behind, the next activation of these protocols is approaching more rapidly than anyone in mainstream society realizes. The Maya didn't disappear. They pioneered the concealment techniques that are still being used today to hide advanced technological development from unauthorized discovery. Their astronomical observatories continue operating from concealed locations. Their mathematical calculations continue coordinating global operations, and their evacuation protocols continue serving as the model for civilizations that must transition from public visibility to concealed operation. What really happened to the Maya? They achieved exactly what they intended. The successful concealment of advanced technological capabilities while maintaining the operational capacity necessary to coordinate continued development from hidden locations. The knowledge purge worked perfectly. For over 1,000 years, mainstream society has remained unaware that Maya civilization continues operating according to the same astronomical calculations that guided their original evacuation. Until satellite technology and ground-penetrating radar began revealing evidence that someone has been maintaining Maya installations and continuing Maya astronomical observations from concealed locations that remain hidden from official archaeological investigation. The Maya knowledge purge isn't ancient history. It's an ongoing operation that continues concealing advanced technological development while coordinating activities that may determine the future of human civilization. And according to their astronomical calculations, that future is approaching according to the same predetermined schedule that has guided concealed civilizations for millennia. Picture yourself standing on the wind-swept cliffs of Easter Island in 1722, watching Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen's crew approach what they believe is an uninhabited speck of land in the vast Pacific. But as their ships draw closer, massive stone figures emerge from the morning mist. Nearly 1,000 monolithic statues standing in perfect formation, their backs turned to the ocean, their enigmatic faces gazing inland with an intensity that suggests they're watching for something that has never come. What Roggeveen's crew discovered that day defied every assumption about Pacific Island capabilities. On one of the most isolated pieces of land on Earth, separated from the nearest civilization by over 2,000 miles of open ocean, they found evidence of engineering capabilities that rivaled anything in the ancient world. But here's what made the Dutch sailors retreat in fear. The statues weren't just impressive monuments. They were positioned as sentinels facing inland as if protecting the island from threats coming from the sea. What were they watching for? And why did an entire civilization invest everything they had in creating an early warning system on the most isolated island on Earth? According to leaked documents from recent archaeological surveys, Easter Island represents something far more sinister than mainstream archaeology acknowledges. The Moai statues aren't artistic achievements or religious monuments. They're components of a sophisticated observation and communication system designed to monitor Pacific Ocean activities while concealing the island's true purpose from maritime discovery. The positioning of the statues follows mathematical precision that demonstrates advanced understanding of geometric principles and astronomical alignments. According to sources who've examined classified survey data, The Moai are positioned according to sightlines that provide comprehensive visual coverage of all oceanic approaches to the island, with overlapping fields of observation that ensure no vessel could approach undetected. But the most disturbing aspect of their positioning is what recent ground-penetrating radar has revealed. The statues aren't just standing on the surface, they're the visible portions of massive underground installations that extend deep beneath Easter Island's surface. Imagine being the archaeologist who first realized that each Moai statue sits atop an underground complex. You're looking at excavation data that shows subterranean chambers, connecting tunnels, and what appear to be sophisticated observation posts extending hundreds of feet below ground level. The statues aren't monuments, they're entrance markers for an underground facility designed to remain hidden from surface detection. According to witnesses who've seen restricted excavation reports, the underground complexes show evidence of engineering capabilities that challenge every assumption about Polynesian technological development. Precisely cut stone chambers with acoustic properties that suggest communication purposes, ventilation systems that maintain air circulation through complex underground networks, storage areas designed for long-term occupation by substantial populations. The Rapa Nui people didn't just build impressive statues, they constructed the most sophisticated underground installation in the Pacific, disguised as a collection of religious monuments that would attract attention while concealing the facility's true purpose. But why would an isolated Pacific island civilization invest everything they had in creating a concealed observation post? The answer lies in Easter Island's location. According to classified maritime analysis, the island sits at the exact center of Pacific shipping routes that connect Asia, Australia, and the Americas. Any vessel attempting to cross the Pacific using traditional navigation methods would pass within visual range of Easter Island's observation posts. The island functions as the perfect monitoring station for trans-Pacific maritime activities. Picture yourself as a Rapa Nui observer stationed in the underground chambers beneath the Moai. You're monitoring ocean approaches using sophisticated optical instruments that allow precise identification of vessels at distances exceeding 50 miles. Your observations are recorded using encoded systems that document ship movements, cargo assessments, and navigation patterns that provide comprehensive intelligence about Pacific maritime activities. Recent analysis of Easter Island's oral traditions reveals encoded information that supports this theory. According to sources who've examined classified anthropological research, Rapa Nui legends contain detailed descriptions of skyboats and sea wanderers that suggest the islanders were systematically monitoring and recording contacts with technologically advanced vessels that weren't supposed to exist in the Pacific. The legends describe encounters with ships using propulsion methods that didn't depend on wind or current, navigation systems that operated without visible reference points, and cargo that included materials unknown to traditional Pacific cultures. These accounts, when decoded according to linguistic analysis techniques used by intelligence agencies, provide detailed intelligence reports about advanced maritime activities spanning several centuries. But here's what makes these accounts truly unsettling. They describe the Rapa Nui people as participants in a monitoring network that provided regular reports to distant coordinators who required precise intelligence about Pacific Ocean activities. According to leaked documents, recent excavations have uncovered physical evidence that supports these claims. Underground chambers contain what appear to be sophisticated communication devices, stone and metal constructions with geometric properties that suggest acoustic or electromagnetic signal transmission capabilities. The devices show evidence of regular maintenance and modification over centuries, indicating continued operation long after Easter Island was supposedly discovered by European explorers. The isolation of Easter Island wasn't geographical isolation, it was operational concealment. The Rapa Nui people were maintaining a monitoring station that remained hidden from mainstream maritime awareness, while providing critical intelligence to coordination networks that operated across the Pacific. This understanding transforms everything we know about Easter Island's mysterious collapse. The conventional explanation focuses on ecological disaster caused by deforestation and resource depletion. But recent environmental analysis reveals a different story. The island's ecological changes weren't the result of poor resource management. They were the result of deliberate environmental modification designed to enhance the monitoring station's operational capabilities. According to sources who've examined classified environmental data, the deforestation of Easter Island followed systematic patterns that optimized sightlines for observation posts while eliminating vegetation that might interfere with communication signals. The Rapa Nui people weren't destroying their environment accidentally. They were modifying it according to technical specifications that prioritized operational effectiveness over ecological sustainability. Picture yourself as a Rapa Nui engineer participating in this systematic environmental modification. You're clearing forest areas according to precise geometric calculations that maximize visual coverage while maintaining concealment of underground installations. Every tree removed, every stone moved, every modification to the island's landscape serves the operational requirements of a monitoring system that must remain invisible to casual observation while providing comprehensive intelligence coverage. The famous collapse of Rapa Nui civilization takes on sinister implications when viewed through this lens. According to witnesses who've seen restricted anthropological analysis, the population decline wasn't caused by ecological disaster. It was the result of coordinated evacuation protocols that removed most of the island's inhabitants while leaving behind a minimal maintenance crew to continue essential operations. The timing of this evacuation corresponds exactly to increased European maritime activity in the Pacific. As Spanish and Dutch exploration expanded into Polynesian waters, the monitoring station became vulnerable to discovery by vessels that possessed the technological capabilities to detect sophisticated installations disguised as primitive monuments. The Rapa Nui evacuation follows the same pattern we've identified in other vanished civilizations. Coordinated departure at the peak of technological achievement, systematic concealment of advanced capabilities, and continued operation from hidden locations that remain undetected by mainstream investigation. But Easter Island's isolation presented unique challenges for evacuation protocols. Unlike continental civilizations that could relocate to remote terrestrial locations, the Rapa Nui people faced the problem of removing substantial populations from an island surrounded by thousands of miles of open ocean. According to leaked maritime records, the solution involved coordination with advanced vessels that provided transportation capabilities far exceeding anything available to contemporary Pacific cultures. Witnesses who've examined classified shipping analysis report evidence of systematic population removal using maritime technology that enabled rapid transport across Pacific distances without detection by European exploration vessels. Recent underwater surveys around Easter Island have revealed evidence that supports these claims. According to sources who've seen restricted oceanographic data, sonar mapping has identified artificial structures on the seafloor surrounding the island, installations that appear designed for underwater vessel operations and concealed maritime activities. The structures show evidence of sophisticated engineering that enabled underwater docking and supply operations for vessels that could remain submerged to avoid surface detection. Easter Island wasn't just a monitoring station. It was a concealed port facility that supported advanced maritime operations throughout the Pacific. Picture yourself as a maritime coordinator managing these concealed operations. You're using Easter Island as a base for vessels that must traverse Pacific distances while remaining invisible to European exploration. The monitoring capabilities provide advance warning of approaching ships, while underwater facilities enable supply and maintenance operations without surface detection. The Moai statues serve as the perfect camouflage for these operations. European explorers encountering the mysterious monuments would focus on the impressive stone carvings while remaining unaware of the sophisticated installations concealed beneath the island's surface. The statues attract attention while directing that attention away from operational activities. According to the theory emerging from classified research, Easter Island represents a critical component of the Pacific Coordination Network that has been managing advanced maritime operations for centuries. The monitoring station continues providing intelligence about oceanic activities, while concealed port facilities continue supporting vessels that operate according to navigation and propulsion technologies that remain hidden from mainstream maritime awareness. The isolation that makes Easter Island seem like an unlikely location for advanced operations actually makes it the perfect location for activities that must remain concealed from conventional detection. The island's remote location ensures that most maritime traffic remains unaware of its monitoring capabilities, while its apparent primitiveness discourages detailed investigation by authorities who might discover evidence of sophisticated installations. Recent satellite analysis has revealed evidence that Easter Island operations continue, despite official claims that the island is now just an archaeological site. According to sources who monitor Pacific maritime activities, electromagnetic anomalies detected around the island suggest continued operation of communication equipment that operates according to specifications that exceed conventional radio technology. The monitoring network that began with Rapa Nui observations of early Pacific exploration continues tracking maritime activities using technology that remains undetected by conventional surveillance systems. Easter Island still functions as a monitoring station, but one that now tracks activities that include modern naval operations, commercial shipping, and what appear to be vessels using propulsion and navigation technologies that officially don't exist. According to witnesses who've examined classified intelligence reports, the Easter Island monitoring station has documented encounters with vessels that demonstrate capabilities that challenge conventional understanding of maritime technology. Ships that operate without visible propulsion systems, navigation methods that function independently of satellite or radio systems, and cargo operations that suggest access to materials and manufacturing capabilities that aren't reflected in official global production records. These observations are systematically concealed from mainstream maritime authorities through intelligence networks that continue operating according to the same protocols that have hidden advanced technological activities for centuries. Easter Island provides the perfect base for monitoring operations that must remain invisible to conventional detection, while providing critical intelligence about activities that officially don't exist. The Moai statues continue serving their original purpose, standing guard over installations that monitor Pacific activities while concealing evidence of technological capabilities that would challenge every assumption about human maritime development. They're still watching for threats approaching from the sea, but now those threats include discovery by authorities who might expose operations that have remained concealed for centuries. What were they really watching for? The same thing they're still watching for today. Evidence that mainstream maritime authorities are developing detection capabilities that might compromise operations that depend on continued concealment for operational security. The isolation of Easter Island isn't geographical, it's operational. The island remains one of the most sophisticated monitoring and coordination facilities on Earth. disguised as an archaeological curiosity that attracts tourists while concealing activities that continue managing advanced technological operations across the Pacific. And according to recent monitoring data, those operations are expanding as global maritime activities approach levels that require enhanced coordination protocols to maintain concealment of technologies that officially don't exist but continue operating from facilities that remain hidden in plain sight. The Rapa Nui people didn't disappear. They pioneered concealment techniques that continue protecting advanced maritime operations from detection by authorities who remain unaware that Easter Island still functions as a critical component of coordination networks that have been managing concealed technological development for centuries. The statues stand guard over secrets that go far beyond impressive stone carving. They mark the location of installations that continue monitoring and coordinating activities that determine how much advanced technology remains hidden from mainstream awareness and how much continues operating according to protocols established long before any of us were born. Easter Island's isolation protects operations that span the entire Pacific, coordinating activities that ensure advanced technological capabilities remain concealed while continuing to develop, according to specifications that challenge every official limitation on human technological achievement. The most isolated island on Earth serves as the command center for the least isolated operations on Earth. Maritime coordination networks that connect concealed facilities across every ocean while maintaining perfect operational concealment from authorities who sail past Easter Island every day without realizing they're being monitored by installations that continue operating centuries after they were supposedly abandoned by primitive stone carvers. Picture yourself in 1973, hunched over radar screens in a military transport aircraft crossing the Sahara Desert on what's officially classified as a routine geological survey. But what appears on your ground-penetrating radar defies every assumption about one of Earth's most desolate regions. Beneath the endless sand dunes, geometric patterns emerge that can only be artificial. Massive rectangular structures, perfectly straight roads, and what appears to be a city larger than modern Cairo, buried under hundreds of feet of sand. You're looking at the remains of an advanced civilization that once controlled the greatest empire in North Africa, possessing engineering capabilities that enabled them to transform the Sahara into a fertile paradise supporting millions of inhabitants. But here's what made the radar operator's hands tremble as he documented these impossible readings. The city shows no signs of gradual burial by advancing desert. It appears to have been deliberately covered, as if an entire civilization decided to hide beneath the sand rather than face whatever was coming across the horizon. According to leaked military survey data, the Sahara contains not one buried city, but an interconnected network of metropolitan areas that once supported a population exceeding 10 million people. Recent satellite analysis using synthetic aperture radar has revealed the true scope of this concealed civilization. Urban complexes connected by transportation networks that span thousands of miles, all buried beneath sand layers that accumulated with mathematical precision. The burial patterns are too systematic to be natural. According to sources who've examined classified geological analysis, the sand accumulation follows engineered specifications that suggest deliberate concealment rather than environmental change. The Sahara's buried cities weren't victims of desertification. They were participants in the most ambitious concealment operation in human history. Imagine being the geologist who first realized that the Sahara Desert isn't a natural formation. It's an artificial environment created to hide an advanced civilization that chose burial over discovery. You're analyzing core samples that show evidence of sophisticated soil engineering, controlled sand distribution, and environmental modification that transformed fertile territories into an apparently lifeless desert according to predetermined specifications. The scale of this operation defies conventional understanding of ancient capabilities. Creating the modern Sahara required moving trillions of tons of sand, redirecting multiple river systems, and coordinating environmental modification across an area larger than the United States. The engineering expertise necessary for such massive terraforming suggests technological capabilities that weren't officially developed until the 20th century. But recent archaeological evidence reveals something even more disturbing. The Sahara concealment operation is still active. According to witnesses who've seen restricted satellite monitoring data, the sand layers covering the buried cities show evidence of continued maintenance. Geometric patterns in sand distribution suggest ongoing engineering activities that maintain optimal concealment depths while preventing natural erosion from exposing underlying structures. Someone has been managing Sahara desert conditions for thousands of years, ensuring that one of the greatest civilizations in human history remains perfectly hidden beneath an artificial wasteland. Picture yourself as a maintenance engineer responsible for managing concealment operations across millions of square miles of seemingly empty desert. You're coordinating sand distribution activities, monitoring erosion patterns, and maintaining environmental conditions that keep advanced urban installations invisible to satellite detection while ensuring optimal preservation of concealed infrastructure. The technologies required for this level of environmental management suggest capabilities that exceed anything in mainstream geological engineering. According to sources who've examined classified environmental data, Sahara management operations include weather modification systems that control precipitation patterns, electromagnetic installations that influence atmospheric conditions, and what appear to be massive underground facilities that coordinate terraforming activities across the entire North African region. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have revealed the sophistication of the concealed infrastructure. The buried cities contain evidence of advanced urban planning that surpasses modern metropolitan design, transportation networks that connect distant urban centers through underground tunnel systems, water management installations that maintain controlled aquifer systems beneath the desert surface, communication facilities that enable coordination across vast distances using technologies that remain undetected by conventional surveillance. According to leaked excavation reports, limited drilling operations have recovered artifacts that challenge every assumption about African technological development. Precision-manufactured metal components that require advanced metallurgy, electronic devices that demonstrate understanding of electromagnetic principles, construction materials that incorporate molecular engineering techniques not officially developed until recent decades. The artifacts suggest the Sahara civilization possessed technological capabilities that enabled environmental modification on a continental scale. They didn't just build impressive cities, they redesigned the climate, geography, and ecology of North Africa according to specifications that prioritized concealment over habitability. But why would an advanced civilization choose to bury itself alive rather than continue developing in plain sight? The answer might lie in what recent archaeological analysis has revealed about the timing of Sahara concealment operations. According to sources who've examined classified chronological data, the environmental modification began during the same historical period when other advanced civilizations were executing coordinated evacuation protocols. The Sahara burial wasn't an isolated decision. It was part of the same global coordination that caused simultaneous disappearances across multiple continents. Picture yourself as a Sahara civilization leader receiving instructions that your people must choose between surface evacuation and underground concealment. Unlike other advanced societies that could relocate to remote territories, your civilization controls resources and installations that are too valuable to abandon but too sensitive to remain visible to future discovery. The solution was unprecedented. Instead of abandoning their achievements, the Sahara people chose to bury their entire civilization while continuing operations from concealed underground facilities that remain hidden beneath artificial desert conditions. Recent seismic analysis has revealed evidence that supports this theory. According to witnesses who've seen restricted geological surveys, underground facilities beneath the Sahara show signs of continued activity that indicate ongoing operations rather than archaeological remains. Electromagnetic anomalies suggest active power generation. Acoustic signatures indicate machinery operations. Thermal patterns reveal maintained environmental control systems. The Sahara Desert isn't hiding dead ruins. It's concealing active installations that continue operating according to the same concealment protocols that buried one of the most advanced civilizations in human history. According to leaked intelligence reports, these ongoing operations include activities that suggest the Sahara serves as a major coordination center for concealed technological development. Mining operations that extract materials using advanced techniques, manufacturing facilities that produce components according to specifications that exceed mainstream industrial capabilities, research installations that continue advancing technologies that officially don't exist. The artificial nature of Sahara environmental conditions provides perfect operational security for activities that must remain hidden from satellite surveillance. The apparently lifeless desert discourages investigation while providing unlimited space for concealed operations that span continental scales. Recent analysis of global mineral extraction data reveals anomalies that support claims about ongoing Sahara operations. According to sources who monitor international resource markets, global supplies of rare earth elements and advanced materials include quantities that exceed official production capacity from known mining operations. The additional materials appear to originate from sources that aren't reflected in public mining records. Satellite monitoring of the Sahara region shows electromagnetic signatures that suggest large-scale industrial activities operating from concealed locations. Energy consumption patterns indicate power generation capabilities that exceed anything reflected in regional electrical grids. Transportation activities suggest movement of materials and personnel according to logistics networks that operate independently of conventional infrastructure. Picture yourself as an intelligence analyst trying to account for these anomalies. You're tracking evidence of major industrial operations that don't appear in any official records, using technologies that aren't reflected in any public patents, operating from locations that appear completely uninhabited on every geographical survey. The only explanation that accounts for all the evidence is ongoing operation of concealed facilities that continue advancing technological capabilities while remaining invisible to mainstream detection. The Sahara provides perfect concealment for operations that require continental-scale resources while maintaining complete operational security. According to the theory emerging from classified research, the Sahara concealment represents the most successful example of civilizational transition from surface visibility to underground operation. Instead of abandoning their technological achievements, the Sahara people perfected techniques that enable continued advancement while maintaining perfect concealment from future discovery. The coordination required for Sahara operations suggests integration with the same global network that manages other concealed civilizations. Recent analysis of electromagnetic communications detected in the region reveals signal patterns that correspond to similar activities monitored around other sites associated with vanished civilizations. The Sahara serves as a major node in coordination networks that connect concealed operations across multiple continents. Communications facilities buried beneath the desert maintain contact with similar installations hidden in remote locations worldwide, coordinating activities that ensure advanced technological development continues while remaining invisible to mainstream awareness. According to witnesses who've seen classified communications analysis, these coordination networks include regular information exchange about mainstream technological development, assessment of detection risks, and coordination of concealment protocols that ensure advanced operations remain hidden despite increasing surveillance capabilities. Recent advances in satellite technology and ground-penetrating radar pose increasing risks to concealment operations that have remained hidden for centuries. The Sahara management systems must constantly adapt to prevent detection by surveillance technologies that become more sophisticated every year. According to leaked security assessments, concealment operations across the Sahara include active countermeasures designed to defeat satellite surveillance and ground-penetrating detection systems. Environmental modification technologies that create radar-absorbing sand compositions, electromagnetic systems that interfere with satellite imaging, atmospheric manipulation that creates optical illusions preventing aerial photography of concealed installations. The Sahara isn't just hiding, it's actively defending against discovery by authorities who might expose operations that have remained concealed since the beginning of recorded history. The desert functions as a fortified concealment zone that protects continental-scale operations from detection by surveillance systems that continue advancing toward capabilities that might compromise operational security. Picture yourself as a concealment engineer responsible for maintaining operational invisibility across millions of square miles of artificially maintained desert. You're constantly updating countermeasures against detection technologies that didn't exist when concealment protocols were first established. Every advance in mainstream surveillance capability requires corresponding advances in concealment technology to maintain operational security. The technologies required for this level of adaptive concealment suggest capabilities that far exceed anything available to mainstream engineering. According to sources who monitor technological development, Sahara concealment operations include technologies that won't be officially developed for decades, operating according to scientific principles that remain classified at the highest levels of government security. The buried metropolis beneath the Sahara represents evidence that advanced technological development has been continuing in concealment for thousands of years, advancing according to capabilities that challenge every official limitation on human technological achievement. The civilization that chose burial over discovery has been using their concealment to continue advancing far beyond anything visible to mainstream awareness. And according to recent monitoring data, those advances are approaching capabilities that may soon make concealment unnecessary or impossible to maintain against detection technologies that continue advancing toward levels that might compromise operational security, regardless of countermeasures. Why are excavation permits being systematically denied? Because what lies beneath the Sahara isn't just archaeological remains. It's active installations that continue operating according to technologies that would challenge every assumption about human capabilities if their existence became public knowledge. The Sahara's buried metropolis isn't ancient history. It's a concealed technological development center that continues advancing capabilities while maintaining perfect operational security through environmental modification technologies that transformed an entire continent into the ultimate concealment zone. The desert that appears completely lifeless to satellite surveillance conceals operations that may represent the most advanced technological development on Earth. continuing according to concealment protocols that have been successfully hiding continental-scale operations for thousands of years, until recent advances in detection technology began revealing electromagnetic signatures that suggest the artificial nature of Sahara environmental conditions and the ongoing activities of installations that were never supposed to be discovered by mainstream surveillance capabilities. The sand that buries the greatest civilization in African history also protects the continued operation of technologies that may determine whether concealment protocols can be maintained against detection capabilities that continue advancing toward levels that might expose operations that have remained hidden since the dawn of civilization. The Sahara keeps its secrets buried beneath millions of tons of engineered sand. But satellite technology is finally developing capabilities that might penetrate concealment systems that have successfully hidden continental-scale operations for millennia. What happens when mainstream detection technology advances beyond the capabilities of concealment systems that have protected the most ambitious technological development project in human history? The answer may determine whether the Sahara continues concealing advanced operations or becomes the location where concealed technological capabilities are finally exposed to mainstream awareness for the first time in recorded history. Picture yourself climbing the narrow ledges of Mesa Verde in 1888, following rancher Richard Wetherill as he peers through a gap in the canyon wall and freezes in absolute terror. What emerges from the shadows isn't just another cliff dwelling, it's a fortress city built into solid rock, positioned for maximum defensive capability against threats that could only come from the sky. The structures cling to vertical cliff faces hundreds of feet above ground level, accessible only through hidden passages that require advanced climbing techniques and intimate knowledge of concealed routes. But here's what made Wetherill's voice shake as he called for his companions. The cliff dwellings weren't abandoned gradually. They were evacuated in desperate haste, with evidence suggesting the inhabitants were hiding from something so terrifying that they chose to vanish completely rather than face discovery. The Anasazi civilization of the American Southwest represents the most disturbing example of coordinated disappearance in North American history. Between 1250 and 1300 CE, at the peak of their architectural and agricultural achievements, an estimated 30,000 people simply vanished from cliff dwellings that had been constructed as the ultimate defensive positions against aerial reconnaissance and attack. According to leaked archaeological reports, the scope of Anasazi defensive preparations defies conventional understanding of 13th century threats. Recent analysis using drone photography and three-dimensional mapping has revealed that every major Anasazi settlement was positioned according to defensive principles that prioritize concealment from aerial observation while maintaining visual surveillance of approaching threats from all directions. The famous cliff dwellings at Mesa Verde, Chaco Canyon, and Canyon de Chelly weren't just impressive architectural achievements. They were components of an integrated early warning and defense network designed to protect against threats that possessed aerial reconnaissance capabilities that weren't supposed to exist in pre-Columbian America. Imagine being the military analyst who first realized that Anasazi defensive positioning follows modern strategic principles for protection against aerial surveillance and attack. You're examining settlement patterns that demonstrate understanding of sight lines, radar shadows, and concealment techniques that weren't officially developed until 20th century military aviation. According to sources who've examined classified strategic analysis, Anasazi cliff dwellings incorporate defensive features that suggest preparation for conflict with adversaries possessing advanced technological capabilities. Hidden entrances designed to prevent detection from aerial reconnaissance. Multiple escape routes that enable rapid evacuation while remaining invisible to overhead observation. Storage facilities positioned to withstand siege conditions lasting months or years. But the most unsettling aspect of Anasazi defensive preparations is what recent archaeological analysis has revealed about their construction timeline. The cliff dwellings weren't built gradually over generations. They were constructed rapidly during a narrow period corresponding to increased defensive urgency that suggests specific knowledge about approaching threats. Picture yourself as an Anasazi engineer participating in frantic construction activities designed to prepare your people for threats that require the most sophisticated defensive positions achievable with available technology. You're building fortress cities that must remain invisible to aerial detection while providing maximum defensive capability against adversaries possessing technological advantages that conventional resistance cannot overcome. The coordination required for these defensive preparations suggests the Anasazi possessed intelligence about approaching threats that enabled strategic planning for specific types of conflict. Recent analysis of Anasazi astronomical installations reveals calculation systems that track celestial events corresponding to predicted timing for defensive engagement. According to witnesses who've seen restricted archaeological analysis, Anasazi astronomical calculations include countdown sequences that predict specific dates requiring maximum defensive readiness. The mathematical precision of these calculations suggests coordination with intelligence networks that provided advance warning about scheduled events requiring coordinated response. But here's what makes Anasazi defensive preparations truly terrifying. They weren't preparing for conventional warfare. They were preparing for total concealment from detection by adversaries possessing surveillance capabilities that required unprecedented defensive innovations. Recent examination of Anasazi construction techniques reveals technologies that challenge conventional understanding of 13th century capabilities. Precision stone cutting that requires advanced tool-making techniques, structural engineering that demonstrates understanding of load-bearing principles, enabling construction on vertical cliff faces, environmental modification that creates optical illusions preventing detection of inhabited areas from distance observation. According to leaked engineering analysis, Anasazi construction incorporates features designed specifically to defeat aerial reconnaissance, building materials that absorb rather than reflect light. Architectural designs that blend seamlessly with natural rock formations, smoke management systems that disperse cooking and heating emissions to prevent detection of inhabited areas. The level of technological sophistication required for these defensive innovations suggests the Anasazi possessed access to advanced knowledge that enabled preparation for threats requiring capabilities far exceeding anything available to contemporary civilizations. Picture yourself examining Anasazi cliff dwellings through the lens of modern military engineering. What you discover isn't primitive defensive architecture. It's sophisticated concealment technology designed to protect against aerial surveillance using principles that weren't officially developed until electronic warfare became a strategic necessity. But the most disturbing evidence lies in how the Anasazi evacuation was executed. Unlike other vanished civilizations that show evidence of coordinated departure following predetermined protocols, the Anasazi disappearance demonstrates emergency evacuation under extreme urgency that suggests immediate threats requiring instant response. According to sources who've examined classified archaeological forensics, Anasazi cliff dwellings contain evidence of interrupted activities suggesting sudden departure without time for normal evacuation preparations. Meals left partially consumed. Construction projects abandoned mid-completion. Personal belongings scattered in patterns suggesting rapid departure under emergency conditions. The archaeological evidence suggests the Anasazi weren't following predetermined evacuation schedules. They were responding to immediate threats that required instant concealment or face total destruction. The defensive positions that had taken decades to construct were abandoned within days, possibly hours, when whatever they were hiding from finally arrived. Recent analysis of Anasazi settlement patterns reveals that their evacuation wasn't random flight. It was coordinated withdrawal to predetermined concealment locations that remain hidden from archaeological investigation. The cliff dwellings weren't permanently abandoned. They were temporarily evacuated while their inhabitants relocated to even more sophisticated concealment facilities that continue operating from locations that have never been officially discovered. According to witnesses who've seen restricted geographical surveys, ground-penetrating radar has identified extensive underground installations in the Four Corners region that show architectural signatures consistent with Anasazi construction techniques. The underground complexes demonstrate engineering capabilities that exceed their visible cliff-dwelling achievements, suggesting continued technological development following evacuation from surface visibility. The Anasazi didn't disappear. They successfully transitioned from defensive positions to concealed operations that continue advancing technological capabilities while remaining invisible to mainstream archaeological investigation. The cliff dwellings served as temporary protective installations, while more sophisticated concealment facilities were prepared for long-term occupation. Picture yourself as an Anasazi coordinator managing transition from visible defensive positions to concealed operational facilities. You're overseeing evacuation operations that must remove entire populations while maintaining operational security that prevents discovery of advanced concealment locations by the same adversaries that forced evacuation from cliff-dwelling positions. According to the theory emerging from classified research, the Anasazi evacuation represents evidence of the concealment network's response to specific threats that required immediate transition from defensive positioning to total invisibility. The adversaries they were hiding from possessed detection capabilities that made even the most sophisticated cliff-dwelling positions vulnerable to discovery. Recent electromagnetic surveys of the southwest region have revealed evidence supporting continued Anasazi operations from concealed locations. According to sources who monitor regional electromagnetic activities, the Four Corners area shows signal patterns that suggest active communication, networks operating according to technologies that exceed conventional radio capabilities. The signals demonstrate coordination patterns that connect multiple concealed installations across distances spanning several states. The communication networks enable coordination between facilities that remain hidden while maintaining operational contact with similar installations associated with other vanished civilizations. According to leaked intelligence analysis, these communication networks include regular coordination with concealed operations identified in connection with Maya, Sahara, and other advanced civilizations that transitioned from visible achievement to concealed operation. The Anasazi serve as a major coordination node for activities that connect concealed technological development across multiple continents. Recent satellite monitoring has identified thermal anomalies in remote southwest locations that suggest large-scale underground operations requiring substantial energy generation. The thermal signatures indicate industrial activities that operate according to energy consumption patterns, exceeding anything reflected in regional electrical grid systems. Picture yourself as a satellite analyst, trying to account for energy consumption in areas that appear completely uninhabited according to official geographical surveys. You're tracking thermal signatures that suggest major industrial operations using power generation capabilities that don't appear in any public utility records. The only explanation that accounts for the evidence is ongoing operation of concealed facilities that continue advancing technological capabilities while remaining completely invisible to mainstream surveillance. The Anasazi concealment protocols have been so successful that major industrial operations continue operating in plain sight while remaining undetected by conventional monitoring systems. According to sources who've examined classified resource extraction data, the southwest region shows evidence of mining operations that extract materials using techniques that leave no surface traces detectable by conventional geological surveys. Advanced underground extraction methods that access mineral resources while maintaining perfect surface concealment. The extracted materials include rare earth elements and advanced compounds that support technological development requiring capabilities that exceed mainstream industrial specifications. The mining operations provide resources for continued advancement of technologies that officially don't exist but continue developing according to capabilities hidden from public awareness. Recent analysis of atmospheric monitoring data reveals emissions patterns in the southwest that suggest manufacturing operations using processes that incorporate advanced chemistry and metallurgy. The emission signatures indicate production of materials according to specifications that aren't reflected in any public industrial patents. According to witnesses who monitor industrial activities, these manufacturing operations produce components that support technological development, requiring materials science capabilities that exceed anything available through conventional supply chains. The concealed production facilities enable continued advancement of technologies that remain hidden while advancing far beyond mainstream industrial capabilities. The Anasazi transition from visible cliff dwellings to concealed operations represents the most successful example of civilizational disappearance that enabled continued technological advancement while maintaining perfect operational security. Their defensive preparations weren't failures, they were successful delaying actions that provided time for transition to concealment protocols that continue protecting advanced operations from detection. Picture yourself as an intelligence coordinator managing ongoing operations that span multiple states while remaining invisible to federal surveillance systems that monitor every conventional activity in the region. You're coordinating mining, manufacturing, research, and communication activities that operate according to technologies that would challenge every assumption about American technological capabilities if their existence became public knowledge. The defensive positions that protected Anasazi transition to concealed operation continue serving as decoy installations that attract archaeological attention while directing investigation away from ongoing activities. The cliff dwellings function as historical curiosities that explain Anasazi disappearance while concealing evidence of continued operation from concealed facilities. According to leaked security assessments, Anasazi concealment operations include active measures designed to maintain historical narratives that explain their disappearance through conventional archaeological theories, environmental management that prevents discovery of concealed installation entrances, information management that ensures archaeological research remains focused on abandoned cliff dwellings rather than ongoing activities. Recent advances in satellite surveillance and ground-penetrating radar technology pose increasing risks to concealment operations that have remained hidden for over 700 years. The detection capabilities that forced original evacuation from cliff-dwelling positions continue advancing toward levels that might compromise even the most sophisticated concealment protocols. According to sources who monitor technological threats to operational security, modern detection systems are approaching capabilities that might penetrate concealment technologies that have successfully hidden continental-scale operations since the 13th century. The same adversaries that originally forced Anasazi evacuation continue advancing surveillance capabilities that may soon exceed concealment countermeasures. The vanishing point that forced Anasazi evacuation from visible positions may be approaching again as detection technology advances toward capabilities that could expose concealed operations that have remained hidden since their original disappearance from mainstream awareness. What threat was so severe they chose to disappear rather than fight? The same threat that continues advancing detection capabilities toward levels that may soon force another transition from current concealment protocols to even more sophisticated invisibility technologies. The Anasazi didn't vanish. They pioneered concealment techniques that continue protecting operations that may represent the most advanced technological development in North America. Their cliff dwellings mark the transition point where visible human achievement was forced underground to continue advancing, while remaining hidden from surveillance capabilities that continue threatening operational security. The defensive positions that failed to protect against 13th century aerial reconnaissance may soon prove inadequate against 21st century detection technology that approaches capabilities requiring new innovations in concealment protocols or acceptance that continued invisibility may become impossible to maintain. The vanishing point approaches again. The question is whether current concealment technology can adapt fast enough to stay ahead of detection capabilities that continue advancing toward levels that might expose operations that have remained hidden since the Anasazi first demonstrated that advanced civilizations can disappear completely while continuing to operate from concealed locations that remain invisible to mainstream awareness. Until satellite technology finally advances beyond the concealment capabilities that have protected the most sophisticated disappearance in North American history. Picture yourself standing before Angkor Wat in 1860, following French explorer Henri Mouhot as he pushes through jungle vines to reveal stone towers that rise like mountains from the forest floor. What emerges from the green darkness defies every assumption about medieval engineering capabilities. You're looking at a temple complex larger than modern cities, built with mathematical precision that rivals contemporary architectural achievements, representing the heart of an empire that once controlled most of Southeast Asia. But here's what made Mouhot's breath catch in his throat as he documented these impossible structures. Angkor wasn't gradually reclaimed by jungle. It was systematically evacuated by a civilization that possessed the organizational capabilities to remove over 1 million inhabitants while ensuring that their greatest achievements would remain preserved but empty, waiting for an authorized return that never came. The Angkor complex represents the most ambitious preservation operation in human history. Between 1350 and 1450 CE, the Khmer Empire executed a coordinated evacuation that removed the entire population of the world's largest pre-industrial city while maintaining perfect structural preservation of installations that demonstrate engineering capabilities exceeding medieval technological limitations. According to leaked archaeological surveys, the true scope of Angkor operations challenges every assumption about Southeast Asian capabilities. Recent analysis using LiDAR technology has revealed that the visible temple complexes represent only the ceremonial facades of a metropolitan area that housed over 1 million inhabitants across nearly 400 square miles of sophisticated urban infrastructure. The hydraulic engineering systems alone demonstrate technological capabilities that weren't officially developed until modern civil engineering programs. Water management networks that controlled seasonal flooding across vast territories. Canal systems that provided transportation and communication across distances spanning multiple modern countries. Agricultural installations that supported population densities requiring advanced resource coordination and distribution systems. Imagine being the engineer who first realized that Angkor's water management systems demonstrate understanding of hydraulic principles that require advanced mathematical modeling and systematic engineering education. You're examining infrastructure that incorporates precise calculations for water flow dynamics, seasonal variation management, and integrated resource distribution across geographical scales that require coordination capabilities exceeding anything available to medieval civilizations. According to sources who've examined classified hydraulic analysis, Angkor's water systems incorporate features that suggest understanding of advanced engineering principles, including pressure dynamics, flow optimization, and automated regulation systems that operate without visible mechanical controls. The installations demonstrate technological sophistication that approaches modern automated infrastructure management. But the most disturbing aspect of Angkor's engineering achievements is what recent ground-penetrating radar has revealed about the concealed infrastructure beneath the visible temple complexes. According to witnesses who've seen restricted survey data, the underground installations demonstrate technological capabilities that far exceed the already impressive surface achievements. Picture yourself examining radar data that reveals extensive underground networks beneath Angkor's temple foundations. You're looking at evidence of subterranean facilities that include precision-manufactured chambers, sophisticated ventilation systems, and what appear to be mechanical installations requiring advanced metallurgy and engineering capabilities. The underground complexes show evidence of coordinated design that suggests systematic preparation for long-term preservation during extended periods of surface abandonment. Environmental control systems that maintain optimal conditions for preserving technological installations. Storage facilities designed for protecting valuable equipment and materials during concealment operations. Communication systems that enable coordination between underground facilities across the entire Angkor complex. According to leaked engineering reports, these concealed installations include technologies that challenge conventional understanding of medieval capabilities, precision-manufactured components that require advanced tool-making techniques, mechanical systems that demonstrate understanding of complex engineering principles, electronic devices that suggest knowledge of electromagnetic applications not officially developed until recent centuries. Recent acoustic analysis of Angkor's temple structures has revealed evidence that the visible architecture serves dual purposes as both ceremonial spaces and sophisticated acoustic engineering installations. According to sources who've examined classified acoustic studies, the temples incorporate acoustic properties that enable long-distance communication across the entire complex using sound transmission techniques that require advanced understanding of acoustic engineering principles. The temple configurations function as components of an integrated communication network that enables coordination across vast distances without conventional signal transmission equipment. The acoustic properties allow whispered conversations to be transmitted between temples separated by miles, while preventing interception by unauthorized listeners who lack knowledge of the precise acoustic positioning required for signal reception. Picture yourself as a Khmer coordinator using these acoustic systems to manage operations across a metropolitan area larger than modern Bangkok. You're coordinating activities between installations separated by vast distances using communication technologies that remain invisible to conventional detection while providing instant connectivity across the entire operational complex. But here's what makes Angkor's evacuation truly unsettling. The departure wasn't caused by external conquest, environmental disaster, or resource depletion. Archaeological evidence shows that Angkor was abandoned at the absolute peak of its prosperity and technological achievement, with systematic evacuation that preserved every aspect of the complex's operational capabilities while removing all evidence of the inhabitants' destination. According to witnesses who've examined classified evacuation analysis, The Angkor abandonment follows protocols that demonstrate extraordinary organizational sophistication. The evacuation was executed with precision that removed entire populations while maintaining perfect preservation of technological installations, architectural achievements, and operational systems that could theoretically be reactivated if original inhabitants returned. The temples weren't abandoned. They were placed in maintenance mode by a civilization that possessed the technological capabilities to preserve complex urban systems during extended periods of concealment, while ensuring that operational readiness could be restored when concealment was no longer necessary. Recent environmental analysis has revealed evidence that Angkor's jungle coverage wasn't natural forest reclamation. It was systematically managed vegetation designed to provide optimal concealment while preventing destructive overgrowth that might damage preserved installations. According to sources who've seen restricted botanical studies, the jungle growth follows managed patterns that suggest centuries of coordinated maintenance designed to maintain concealment while preserving structural integrity. Picture yourself as a concealment engineer responsible for managing vegetation coverage across 400 square miles of abandoned urban infrastructure. You're coordinating forest growth that must provide perfect camouflage from aerial reconnaissance while preventing root systems and vegetation from damaging preserved technological installations that must remain operational, ready for potential reactivation. The level of environmental management required for this operation suggests ongoing coordination by maintenance teams that continue operating from concealed locations while ensuring that Angkor's preserved systems remain protected and functional despite centuries of apparent abandonment. According to leaked maintenance reports, recent monitoring has detected electromagnetic anomalies throughout the Angkor complex that suggest continued operation of concealed systems that maintain environmental controls, preserve technological installations, and coordinate ongoing maintenance activities that ensure operational readiness despite official classification as abandoned archaeological ruins. The anomalies indicate power generation capabilities that operate independently of conventional electrical infrastructure while maintaining coordination networks that connect Angkor's concealed systems with similar installations associated with other vanished civilizations. The temples continue serving as coordination facilities that enable communication between concealed operations across multiple continents. Recent satellite thermal analysis has revealed heat signatures that suggest active facilities operating beneath Angkor's temple foundations. According to sources who monitor thermal imaging data, the underground installations show energy consumption patterns that indicate ongoing operations requiring substantial power generation while maintaining perfect surface concealment. The thermal signatures suggest manufacturing operations, environmental control systems, and what appear to be research facilities that continue advancing technological capabilities while remaining invisible to conventional surveillance. Angkor serves as a major technological development center that operates according to concealment protocols while continuing advancement of capabilities that exceed mainstream engineering limitations. According to the theory emerging from classified research, Angkor represents the most sophisticated example of preservation evacuation in human history. Unlike other vanished civilizations that either relocated to remote territories or transitioned to underground concealment, the Khmer Empire developed techniques that enable simultaneous preservation of visible achievements and concealed continuation of advanced operations. The temple complexes function as perfectly preserved technological installations that could theoretically resume full operations if concealment protocols were deactivated. The visible architecture serves as both historical preservation and operational camouflage for facilities that continue advancing technological capabilities while maintaining the appearance of ancient ruins that attract archaeological attention away from ongoing activities. Picture yourself as an archaeological tourist visiting Angkor Wat. completely unaware that the ancient temple you're photographing conceals active installations that continue operating according to technologies that would challenge every assumption about human engineering capabilities if their existence became public knowledge. Recent analysis of global tourism patterns reveals that Angkor receives millions of visitors annually who remain completely unaware that they're touring the surface facades of active technological facilities. The preservation operation has been so successful that major industrial and research operations continue operating while receiving international protection as UNESCO World Heritage Sites that ensure continued concealment through historical preservation programs. According to leaked tourism analysis, the international focus on Angkor's historical and cultural significance provides perfect operational security for activities that require protection from investigation, while maintaining unlimited access for maintenance and development operations disguised as conservation and archaeological research programs. The preservation protocols ensure that Angkor's concealed operations receive international protection while maintaining unlimited operational freedom through programs that officially focus on historical preservation, but actually coordinate continued technological advancement according to capabilities that remain hidden from mainstream awareness. Recent monitoring of international conservation funding reveals financial patterns that suggest substantial resources are being directed toward Angkor preservation programs that include activities extending far beyond conventional archaeological conservation. According to sources who track international funding flows, the resources allocated for Angkor maintenance exceed requirements for conventional preservation, while supporting activities that suggest ongoing technological development operations. The funding patterns indicate coordination between international agencies, government programs, and private organizations that channel resources toward concealed operations disguised as historical preservation, but actually supporting continued advancement of technologies that officially don't exist but continue developing according to specifications hidden from public oversight. According to witnesses who've examined classified funding analysis, Angkor preservation programs include substantial investments in underground facilities, advanced communication systems, and technological installations that far exceed requirements for protecting ancient stone temples, but perfectly match requirements for maintaining active research and development operations. Picture yourself as a financial analyst trying to account for preservation funding that exceeds historical maintenance requirements by orders of magnitude, while supporting activities that suggest major technological development operations disguised as archaeological conservation programs. The only explanation that accounts for the financial evidence is ongoing operation of concealed facilities that require substantial resources for continued technological advancement, while maintaining perfect concealment through international preservation programs that provide official justification for unlimited operational funding. According to sources who monitor regional electromagnetic activities, Angkor serves as a major coordination node for communication networks that connect concealed operations across Southeast Asia with similar installations associated with other vanished civilizations worldwide. The temple complexes house communication facilities that maintain coordination between concealed technological development programs operating according to global protocols. The communication networks enable real-time coordination between facilities that span multiple continents while maintaining operational security through concealment systems that have successfully hidden continental-scale operations for centuries. Angkor provides critical coordination capabilities for global concealment networks that manage advanced technological development while remaining invisible to mainstream surveillance. Recent advances in satellite detection technology pose increasing risks to concealment operations that have remained hidden for over 500 years. According to leaked security assessments, detection capabilities continue advancing toward levels that might penetrate concealment systems that have successfully hidden major technological operations since medieval evacuation protocols were first implemented. The preservation systems that enable continued operation while maintaining historical camouflage may soon prove inadequate against surveillance technologies that approach capabilities requiring new innovations in concealment protocols or acceptance that continued invisibility may become impossible to maintain against detection systems that continue advancing beyond current countermeasure capabilities. Why do local legends speak of sky people demanding tribute? Because Angkor's evacuation protocols were established in response to demands from authorities that possessed surveillance capabilities requiring concealment of advanced technological development to prevent detection by oversight systems that continue monitoring human technological advancement according to predetermined limitations. The tribute demanded wasn't material resources, it was technological concealment that ensured advanced human capabilities remained hidden from surveillance systems that continue monitoring global development, according to protocols that require periodic concealment of civilizations that advance beyond predetermined technological boundaries. Angkor's abandonment wasn't evacuation, it was successful transition to concealed operation that continues advancing technological capabilities while maintaining perfect operational security through preservation protocols that protect ongoing operations, through international historical conservation programs that provide unlimited operational protection while maintaining complete concealment from authorities who continue monitoring global technological development. The temples that appear to be ancient ruins actually house the most advanced technological development operations in Southeast Asia, continuing advancement of capabilities that may determine whether concealed operations can maintain invisibility against detection technologies that continue advancing toward levels that might expose operations that have remained hidden since medieval preservation. Protocols first demonstrated that major technological facilities can operate in plain sight, while remaining completely invisible to mainstream awareness, until detection technology finally advances beyond concealment capabilities that have protected the most sophisticated preservation operation in human history. Picture yourself standing on a barren hilltop in southeastern Turkey in 1994, watching German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt brush away 12,000 years of accumulated soil to reveal massive stone pillars carved with impossible precision by people who weren't supposed to possess advanced tool-making capabilities. What emerges from the earth challenges every assumption about the development of human civilization, a temple complex that predates Stonehenge by 7,000 years, built when mainstream archaeology insists humans were primitive hunter-gatherers incapable of coordinated construction projects. But here's what made Schmidt's hands shake as he documented these discoveries. Göbekli Tepe wasn't abandoned due to natural disaster or cultural change. It was deliberately buried by its own creators, who systematically covered their greatest achievement with millions of tons of earth in what can only be described as the most thorough concealment operation in prehistoric history. According to leaked archaeological reports, the burial of Göbekli Tepe required organizational capabilities that challenge every assumption about Neolithic society. Recent analysis using ground-penetrating radar has revealed that the visible excavations represent less than 5% of the total complex, with the remainder still buried under carefully engineered soil layers that have preserved the installations for over 10 millennia. The scale of the burial operation defies conventional understanding of prehistoric capabilities. Moving the millions of tons of earth required to conceal Göbekli Tepe would have required coordination between thousands of workers operating according to precise engineering specifications over periods spanning multiple generations. Imagine being the archaeologist who first realized that Göbekli Tepe's burial was an accidental accumulation of soil over time. It was systematic concealment by people who possessed the engineering knowledge necessary to ensure perfect preservation while maintaining complete invisibility for 12,000 years. According to sources who've examined classified geological analysis, the soil layers covering Göbekli Tepe show evidence of engineered composition designed to provide optimal preservation conditions while preventing detection by surface observation. The burial materials include specialized compounds that control moisture, prevent vegetation growth that might reveal underlying structures, and maintain chemical conditions that preserve carved stone installations. But the most disturbing aspect of Göbekli Tepe's concealment is what recent archaeological analysis has revealed about the timing of the burial operation. The complex wasn't gradually covered over centuries. It was systematically buried within a narrow time window that corresponds to other coordinated concealment operations occurring simultaneously across multiple continents. Picture yourself as a Neolithic coordinator participating in synchronized burial operations that span vast geographical distances while maintaining precise timing that ensures coordinated concealment across multiple advanced installations. You're executing protocols that require communication and coordination capabilities that weren't supposed to exist 12,000 years ago. According to witnesses who've seen restricted chronological analysis, the burial of Göbekli Tepe corresponds exactly to similar concealment operations identified at other prehistoric sites across Europe, Asia, and Africa. The timing is too precise to be coincidental. These represent coordinated responses to shared knowledge about requirements for systematic concealment of advanced prehistoric achievements. Recent carbon dating analysis has revealed evidence that supports this theory of coordinated concealment. According to leaked dating reports, organic materials found in burial layers at multiple prehistoric sites show identical timeframes for concealment operations, suggesting global coordination of burial protocols across continents separated by thousands of miles. The coordination required for such synchronized concealment suggests prehistoric civilizations possessed communication networks that enabled real-time coordination across vast distances using technologies that remain undetected by conventional archaeological investigation. But here's what makes Göbekli Tepe's burial truly terrifying. The concealment wasn't designed to hide the installation permanently. It was designed to preserve it for future recovery by authorized personnel who would possess the knowledge necessary to locate and excavate the buried complex. According to sources who've examined classified preservation analysis, Göbekli Tepe's burial incorporates sophisticated preservation techniques that ensure optimal conservation of carved stone installations, while providing recovery markers that enable precise location of concealed structures by people who possess the appropriate detection knowledge. Picture yourself as a prehistoric preservation engineer designing burial protocols that must maintain perfect concealment for thousands of years while ensuring that authorized recovery operations can locate and excavate preserved installations when concealment is no longer necessary. The engineering sophistication required for this level of preservation planning suggests prehistoric peoples possess technological knowledge that enabled long-term planning across timescales spanning millennia. They weren't just hiding their achievements temporarily, they were implementing preservation protocols designed to protect advanced installations during extended concealment periods. Recent electromagnetic surveys of the Göbekli Tepe area have revealed evidence that supports claims about sophisticated preservation engineering. According to witnesses who've seen restricted survey data, the buried complex shows electromagnetic signatures that suggest active preservation systems continue operating beneath the concealment layers. The electromagnetic anomalies indicate power generation capabilities that maintain environmental control systems, prevent deterioration of buried installations, and coordinate ongoing preservation activities that ensure optimal conservation despite 12,000 years of concealment. According to leaked maintenance reports, these preservation systems include technologies that exceed conventional understanding of prehistoric capabilities. Automated environmental controls that maintain optimal preservation conditions. Communication systems that coordinate preservation activities across the entire buried complex. Monitoring equipment that tracks preservation effectiveness and adjusts maintenance protocols accordingly. Picture yourself examining evidence that prehistoric peoples possess technological capabilities that enable automated preservation of major installations across timescales that exceed the entire span of recorded human history. You're looking at preservation engineering that surpasses anything achievable with contemporary technology. But the most unsettling discovery lies in what recent excavation analysis has revealed about Göbekli Tepe's original purpose. The complex wasn't just a temple or ceremonial center, it was a sophisticated communication installation designed to coordinate activities between prehistoric civilizations across vast geographical distances. According to sources who've examined classified communication analysis, Göbekli Tepe's stone pillars incorporate acoustic properties that enable long-distance signal transmission using sound amplification techniques that require advanced understanding of acoustic engineering principles. The installation functions as a prehistoric communication hub that coordinated activities between advanced civilizations that operated according to global protocols. The carved symbols on Göbekli Tepe's pillars aren't just artistic decorations, they're technical specifications for operating communication equipment that enabled coordination between prehistoric installations across multiple continents. Recent analysis using cryptographic techniques has revealed that the symbols contain encoded information about communication protocols, operational procedures, and coordination schedules. According to witnesses who've seen restricted linguistic analysis, the symbol systems used at Göbekli Tepe correspond to similar encoding techniques identified at other prehistoric sites worldwide, suggesting standardized communication protocols that enabled coordination between advanced civilizations that maintained contact across vast distances. Picture yourself as a prehistoric communication coordinator using Göbekli Tepe's installations to maintain contact with similar facilities across Europe, Asia, and Africa. You're coordinating activities between advanced civilizations using communication technologies that remain undetected by mainstream archaeological investigation, while enabling real-time coordination across continental distances. The communication capabilities suggest prehistoric civilizations possess technological knowledge that enabled global coordination of activities that required precise timing and synchronized execution across multiple continents. The burial of Göbekli Tepe represents evidence of coordinated concealment protocols that were implemented simultaneously across this global communication network. Recent analysis of the burial timing reveals evidence that the concealment operation was triggered by specific events that required immediate response from all participating civilizations. According to leaked chronological analysis, the burial corresponds to astronomical events that suggest predetermined protocols for concealment when specific celestial conditions required coordinated invisibility. The astronomical timing indicates prehistoric civilizations possessed advanced knowledge about cyclical events that required periodic concealment of technological achievements to prevent detection by surveillance systems that operated according to celestial timing schedules. According to the theory emerging from classified research, Göbekli Tepe represents evidence of prehistoric participation in management protocols that required periodic concealment of advanced technological development when surveillance activities approached detection capabilities that might compromise operational security. The burial wasn't random hiding, it was coordinated response to surveillance threats that required temporary concealment until detection risks decreased to acceptable levels for resumed surface operations. Recent satellite monitoring of the Göbekli Tepe area has revealed evidence that suggests the concealment operation was successful in maintaining operational invisibility while preserving technological capabilities for future recovery. According to sources who monitor electromagnetic activities, the buried complex shows signal patterns that suggest continued operation of communication systems that maintain contact with similar concealed installations worldwide. The preservation protocols have been so successful that major communication and coordination operations continue operating from concealed locations while appearing to be archaeological curiosities that attract research attention away from ongoing activities. According to witnesses who've examined classified excavation analysis, recent archaeological work at Göbekli Tepe has been carefully managed to ensure that only predetermined portions of the complex are exposed while maintaining concealment of installations that continue operating according to preservation protocols established 12,000 years ago. Picture yourself as an archaeological coordinator managing excavation operations that must provide sufficient public discovery to explain the site's significance while ensuring that advanced installations remain concealed from unauthorized investigation. You're balancing public archaeological interest with operational security requirements that ensure continued concealment of technologies that would challenge every assumption about prehistoric capabilities. The managed excavation ensures that Göbekli Tepe receives international recognition as an important archaeological discovery, while directing investigation away from installations that continue operating according to communication and coordination protocols that have remained active throughout 12,000 years of concealment. Recent analysis of international funding for Göbekli Tepe research reveals financial patterns that suggest substantial resources are being directed toward preservation and excavation programs that include activities extending far beyond conventional archaeological investigation. According to sources who track funding flows, the resources allocated for Göbekli Tepe operations exceed requirements for conventional archaeological research while supporting activities that suggest ongoing technological development disguised as historical preservation. The funding patterns indicate coordination between international agencies, academic institutions, and private organizations that channel resources toward concealed operations that officially focus on archaeological research but actually coordinate continued advancement of technologies that have remained hidden since prehistoric concealment protocols were first implemented. According to leaked security assessments, Göbekli Tepe serves as a critical node in communication networks that connect concealed operations worldwide while maintaining operational security through archaeological programs that provide perfect cover for activities that continue advancing technological capabilities according to protocols established before recorded history began. The prehistoric communication installation continues serving its original purpose, coordinating activities between concealed civilizations that maintain contact across vast distances while remaining invisible to mainstream surveillance systems that continue monitoring global technological development according to detection capabilities that advance toward levels requiring constant adaptation of concealment protocols. Recent advances in archaeological detection technology pose increasing risks to concealment operations that have remained hidden for 12,000 years. According to witnesses who monitor technological threats to operational security, ground-penetrating radar and satellite surveillance capabilities continue advancing toward levels that might penetrate preservation systems that have successfully hidden major installations since prehistoric burial protocols were first implemented. The preservation engineering that has maintained perfect concealment for 12 millennia may soon prove inadequate against detection technologies that approach capabilities requiring new innovations in concealment protocols or acceptance that continued invisibility may become impossible to maintain. What did they need to hide from future civilizations? The same surveillance systems that continue monitoring human technological development according to protocols that require periodic concealment when advancement approaches predetermined boundaries, that trigger coordinated response to prevent unauthorized technological progression. Göbekli Tepe's burial represents evidence that these monitoring protocols have been operating since prehistoric times, requiring advanced civilizations to choose between concealment and total elimination when technological development approaches levels that exceed authorized limitations. The prehistoric cover-up worked perfectly for 12,000 years. The installation remained completely invisible while continuing to operate according to communication and coordination protocols that have successfully hidden advanced technological capabilities throughout the entire span of human civilization. Until modern archaeological techniques finally developed detection capabilities that began revealing evidence of the most sophisticated concealment operation in prehistoric history, and the ongoing activities of installations that were never supposed to be discovered by unauthorized investigation. The deliberate burial that preserved Göbekli Tepe for 12,000 years also protected the continued operation of communication systems that coordinate concealed technological development according to protocols that predate recorded human history. What they buried wasn't just an ancient temple, it was evidence of management systems that have been controlling human technological advancement since before civilization officially began, ensuring that advanced capabilities remain hidden while continuing to develop, according to specifications that challenge every assumption about the limitations of human achievement. The cover-up continues. Göbekli Tepe's managed excavation ensures that public archaeological interest remains focused on prehistoric religious significance, while concealing evidence of communication and coordination capabilities that continue operating according to protocols established 12,000 years ago. The most ancient concealment operation in human history remains active, protecting technologies that would revolutionize understanding of prehistoric capabilities, while ensuring that advanced installations continue operating according to the same concealment protocols that have successfully hidden continental-scale technological development since the dawn of civilization. Picture yourself in a classified briefing room in 2023, watching intelligence analysts display satellite imagery that reveals patterns they're struggling to explain. What appears on the screens mirrors the exact technological and organizational markers that preceded every major civilizational disappearance throughout history. Advanced global communication networks enabling instant coordination across continents, engineering capabilities that enable massive construction projects requiring unprecedented resource coordination, mathematical and computational knowledge that surpasses previous civilizational achievements. But here's what's making seasoned intelligence professionals lose sleep. Our current civilization isn't just approaching the same technological benchmarks that triggered historical evacuation protocols. We're exceeding them at an accelerating pace that suggests we may have already passed the point where concealment becomes mandatory rather than optional. According to leaked assessment reports, comprehensive analysis of current global capabilities reveals that 21st century civilization has achieved every technological marker that historically preceded coordinated disappearance operations. Advanced transportation networks that enable rapid movement of large populations across vast distances. Communication systems that allow real-time coordination between distant locations. Resource extraction and manufacturing capabilities that support massive population concentrations while maintaining complex technological infrastructure. The markers aren't just present, they're advancing toward levels that exceed anything achieved by previous civilizations before they implemented evacuation protocols. Recent analysis of global technological development reveals acceleration patterns that suggest approaching critical thresholds that historically triggered management system intervention. According to sources who monitor technological advancement metrics, current development rates indicate that multiple critical capabilities will reach predetermined threshold levels simultaneously within the next 2 decades. Imagine being the analyst who first realized that our technological advancement isn't just following historical patterns, it's accelerating toward the exact convergence point that has historically required civilizational concealment or elimination. You're tracking development trajectories that approach capabilities requiring immediate response according to protocols that have been managing human advancement for millennia. The convergence isn't accidental. According to witnesses who've examined classified technological assessment data, current global development shows evidence of coordination that suggests advanced guidance systems are actively managing our advancement toward predetermined threshold levels that will trigger the same protocols that shaped every previous major civilization. Picture yourself discovering that human technological development isn't occurring naturally. It's being carefully guided towards specific capability levels that require predetermined responses when critical thresholds are achieved. You're looking at evidence that our entire technological civilization is advancing according to managed parameters that ensure we approach the same decision points that faced every previous advanced society. But here's what makes current technological development truly terrifying. Unlike previous civilizations that had generations to prepare for evacuation protocols, our advancement is accelerating so rapidly that threshold convergence may occur within years rather than decades, requiring immediate response to management system demands that most of the global population remains completely unaware of. According to leaked intelligence reports, classified monitoring systems have identified numerous indicators that suggest management system activation is approaching critical phases. Electromagnetic anomalies detected at historical concealment sites indicate increased activity levels consistent with preparation for major operational changes. Communication intercepts suggest coordination between concealed installations worldwide. Resource extraction patterns indicate massive preparation activities occurring at locations associated with vanished civilizations. Recent satellite monitoring has revealed construction activities at remote locations that demonstrate engineering capabilities exceeding anything reflected in public development projects. According to sources who track classified construction programs, the activities suggest preparation for population accommodation on scales that match historical evacuation operations while maintaining complete concealment from mainstream awareness. The construction patterns indicate preparation for accommodating millions of people in concealed installations while maintaining operational capabilities that enable continued technological advancement according to concealment protocols that have successfully hidden advanced development for millennia. Picture yourself as a satellite analyst documenting construction activities that suggest preparation for the largest population movement in human history while remaining completely invisible to public awareness or media coverage. You're tracking logistics operations that exceed anything achievable through conventional infrastructure, while operating according to concealment protocols that ensure perfect operational invisibility. According to the theory emerging from classified analysis, current global events represent preparation phases for implementing the same management protocols that have shaped human civilization throughout recorded history. The accelerating technological development isn't leading toward independent human advancement. It's approaching convergence points that will require choosing between coordinated concealment and total elimination. Recent analysis of global resource extraction data reveals consumption patterns that suggest massive preparation activities occurring beyond anything reflected in public economic statistics. According to sources who monitor global resource flows, extraction levels exceed public consumption requirements while supporting activities that suggest large-scale preparation for major population movements and infrastructure development in concealed locations. The resource consumption patterns indicate preparation for supporting advanced technological operations that require capabilities far exceeding anything available through conventional supply chains, while maintaining complete concealment from economic monitoring systems that track public resource utilization. According to witnesses who've examined classified economic analysis, the additional resource consumption includes materials essential for advanced technology development, life support systems for large populations, and infrastructure construction requiring engineering capabilities that exceed conventional construction specifications, while operating according to concealment protocols that ensure perfect economic invisibility. Picture yourself as an economic analyst trying to account for resource consumption that exceeds public economic activity by orders of magnitude, while supporting activities that suggest major technological and infrastructure development occurring completely outside conventional economic monitoring systems. The only explanation that accounts for the evidence is ongoing preparation for implementing concealment protocols that enable continued technological advancement while removing visible evidence of human technological capabilities from mainstream detection by surveillance systems that continue monitoring global development according to predetermined limitations. Recent monitoring of global communication networks has revealed signal patterns that suggest coordination between government agencies, private organizations, and international institutions according to protocols that enable massive coordination while maintaining perfect concealment from public awareness. According to sources who monitor communication analysis, the coordination patterns indicate preparation for implementing synchronized response to management system demands that require coordinated global response. The communication coordination suggests that management system protocols are already being implemented by authorities who understand the approaching necessity for coordinated response to technological threshold convergence that will require choosing between concealment and elimination, according to protocols that have managed human advancement throughout history. According to leaked coordination analysis, the synchronized activities include preparation for population selection, resource allocation, technological preservation, and coordination with concealed installations that continue operating according to protocols established by previous civilizations that successfully transitioned from visible advancement to concealed operation. Picture yourself discovering that global authorities are already implementing protocols for coordinated response to management system demands while maintaining complete concealment from populations that remain unaware of approaching requirements for civilizational transition, according to protocols that have shaped human development since prehistoric times. Recent analysis of technological development trajectories reveals that critical threshold convergence is approaching more rapidly than historical patterns suggest. According to sources who model technological advancement, current acceleration rates indicate that multiple critical capabilities will reach management system intervention levels simultaneously rather than sequentially, creating unprecedented challenges for implementing traditional evacuation protocols. The accelerated convergence suggests that current civilization may face management system demands that exceed anything experienced by previous civilizations, requiring innovations in concealment protocols or acceptance that traditional evacuation may prove inadequate for managing technological advancement that approaches capabilities requiring total elimination rather than concealment. According to witnesses who've seen classified threat assessments, The management system monitoring our technological development shows increasing signs of preparing for more drastic intervention than historical evacuation protocols, suggesting that current advancement may be approaching levels that exceed concealment capabilities, regardless of compliance with traditional concealment demands. Picture yourself as a threat analyst discovering that our technological advancement is approaching levels that may trigger management system responses exceeding anything in historical precedent, requiring preparations for scenarios that go beyond traditional evacuation to more permanent solutions for managing human technological capabilities that exceed authorized limitations. Recent monitoring of concealed installations worldwide reveals increased activity levels that suggest preparation for major operational changes that exceed historical patterns. According to sources who track concealed operations, the activity levels indicate preparation for scenarios that require capabilities far exceeding traditional evacuation support, while suggesting preparation for managing technological development that approaches levels requiring more drastic management system intervention. The increased activity patterns suggest that concealed civilizations are preparing for scenarios that exceed their historical experience, indicating that current technological convergence represents unprecedented challenges for management systems that have successfully controlled human advancement throughout recorded history. According to leaked operational assessments, the preparation activities include development of technologies and capabilities that exceed anything required for traditional evacuations protocols, while suggesting preparation for managing human technological development that approaches levels requiring intervention methods that exceed historical precedent. Picture yourself examining evidence that concealed civilizations possessing thousands of years of technological advancement are preparing for scenarios that challenge their capabilities, suggesting that current human technological development represents unprecedented threats to management systems that have successfully controlled civilizational advancement since prehistoric times. But the most disturbing aspect of current technological markers is what recent analysis reveals about timing convergence. According to sources who model technological development trajectories, critical threshold convergence appears to be approaching according to astronomical timing that corresponds to celestial events predicted by ancient calculation systems maintained by concealed civilizations. The timing convergence suggests that current technological acceleration isn't occurring naturally. It's being guided toward convergence points that correspond to predetermined scheduling maintained by management systems that coordinate major interventions according to astronomical timing that has guided civilizational management throughout history. According to witnesses who've examined classified astronomical analysis, the celestial timing for current threshold convergence corresponds exactly to ancient calculation systems that predict periodic intervention requirements for managing human technological development according to cosmic scheduling that operates on timescales spanning millennia. Picture yourself discovering that our entire technological civilization is advancing according to predetermined schedules that ensure critical capability. Convergence occurs according to astronomical timing maintained by management systems that have been guiding human development according to cosmic calculations since before recorded history began. The modern markers aren't just indicating approaching management system intervention. They're revealing that our technological advancement has been guided toward this convergence point according to protocols that ensure intervention occurs according to cosmic timing that coordinates management activities with celestial events that have guided civilizational management throughout human history. Recent analysis of government preparation activities reveals evidence that authorities understand the astronomical timing for approaching intervention while implementing coordination protocols that ensure synchronized response to management system demands, according to schedules that coordinate with cosmic timing. maintained by ancient calculation systems. According to leaked preparation analysis, government coordination includes synchronization with concealed civilizations that maintain ancient astronomical knowledge, enabling precise timing for implementing intervention protocols according to cosmic schedules that have guided management system operations throughout recorded history. Picture yourself as a coordination analyst discovering that current global authorities are implementing protocols that synchronize with management systems operating according to astronomical timing maintained since prehistoric times, ensuring that current intervention occurs according to cosmic scheduling that has guided civilizational management since the dawn of human technological development. Are we next in the cycle? According to every technological marker, astronomical timing indicator, and preparation activity pattern, current civilization has already reached the convergence point that requires implementing management system protocols according to cosmic timing that ensures intervention occurs according to schedules that have guided human advancement throughout history. The cycle continues. The markers are present. The timing approaches. The only question remaining is whether current technological acceleration will enable human advancement beyond management system control capabilities, or whether ancient protocols will prove adequate for managing technological development that approaches levels exceeding anything in historical precedent. According to the astronomical calculations maintained by concealed civilizations since prehistoric times, we're approaching the cosmic timing for major management system intervention according to schedules that have guided human development since civilization began. The modern markers indicate that someone is already watching us advance toward the same technological thresholds that have required civilizational concealment or elimination throughout history. The question isn't whether intervention will occur, it's whether current technological capabilities will exceed management system control for the first time in human history, or whether ancient protocols will prove adequate for managing advancement that challenges every limitation that has confined human development since the beginning of recorded time. The countdown continues according to astronomical timing maintained for millennia. The markers align with historical patterns that have never failed to predict major civilizational transitions. And according to cosmic scheduling maintained by management systems operating since prehistoric times, current civilization approaches the appointed time for choosing between concealment and elimination, according to protocols that have shaped human development since the dawn of technological advancement. The cycle that has repeated throughout history approaches completion once again. The question is whether this iteration will follow historical patterns, or whether current technological acceleration represents the convergence that finally challenges management system capabilities that have successfully controlled human advancement since civilization began.